Hey guys, well, I like that beat. That might even be a good beat to read to, but I I don't have that one loaded up here, so I have to read to this one. There's a couple others, but yeah, let me make sure my sound is okay. All right, that's low enough where it shouldn't disturb people. All right, so yeah, it's been a while since we've done this particular thing, and part of that is because they just had the Schaefer Theological Seminary conference where they did the graduation, and I graduated in what do you call it, in absentia, or however you say it. So yeah, that went on, and then work's been hectic. My back's been messing up, but I got an appointment with the doctor, and my work is due on this Sunday, so I got to hustle to do that. And so today, what we'll be doing is we'll be reading Riken, and we may do some application to First Kings, chapter 1, just some freestyle type stuff, and we'll go from there. All right. Let's see here. Share my entire screen. All right. So this is not too hard to catch. Plot structure, a lot of people are familiar with it. Shouldn't be difficult at all. I actually have a video that I did a while back on plot structure from, I think it was Riken, or maybe there's another book. I have to look into that. But anyway, plot structure and unity, the beginning, the middle, the ending of a story. Plot is one of the elements that make up every story. Action is good synonym for plot, but further things characterize the action that make up a plot, and they are the subject of this matter. The first thing to grasp is that a plot is a sequence of events. It's not a random collection of unrelated events, but a chain of related events in which one event produces the next one, and so forth. The most frequently cited authority on plot is the Greek thinker Aristotle, and his way of describing the sequence of events that make up a plot was to say that a plot had a beginning, a middle, and end. That may seem simplistic, but it's actually profound. Aristotle's, and I'm used to Freytag's, I think his name is Freytag's pyramid, which is a little bit more complex. Aristotle's formula draws attention to two important features of a plot. The first is that a plot is a coherent whole. Every individual incident is part of a single action. In fact, Aristotle said regarding the individual units that we must see that they are relevant to the action secondarily. Aristotle's formula of beginning, middle, end asserts that the incidents unfold sequentially according to a cause-effect logic. The middle was the chain of events by which we move from the initial situation to the final one. With the above information serving as a foundation, this chapter will cover three aspects of plot. They all have to do with the big overriding aspect of plot. The next chapter will provide the close-ups within the large framework that is covered in this chapter, the sequential structure of a plot. As already implied, a plot is made up of a chain of related events. There are multiple words that can be used to name these units: scenes based on the model of drama, episodes, events, or even acts, as in drama, Act 1, Act 2, etc. The primary obligation of the sequential nature of plot places on us can be called identifying the action. What this means is that as readers, we need to divide the plot into successive units and name them accurately. Both of these deserve a bit of unpacking. Dividing a plot sequence into its constituent parts requires analysis first of all. The goal is to produce an outline of the story. During the spadework phase of the analysis, it's very useful to draw horizontal lines to divide the sequence into easily seen units. Photocopying the passage or printing them from the internet is freeing, as opposed to drawing lines in the Bible. In this process of dividing the plots into its parts, there is usually not just one right way to outline the action. For one thing, we usually have an option between dividing the story into its smallest possible units or going for a somewhat streamlined version. Big effects as opposed to exhaustive and minute detail units. The group or occasion for which we're preparing a lesson might be an influence. We need to avoid overloading the audience with so many details. On the other hand, in private analysis, there's definitely a place for the fine-tooth comb approach. We see certain things more clearly if we look at them close up and in detail. In addition to dividing the plot into its successive building blocks, we need to name those parts. The first requirement here is that our labels be accurate, but a second layer also emerges, namely the need to name the individual units in such a way as to keep the central action in view. The name by which this is usually called is the whole part relationship. Of course, when we start our spade work, we may not yet have a clear view of what the unifying action is, but once we have formulated a preferred version of the unifying action, we can go back and bring our labels for individual parts in line with the unifying core of the plot, overriding unifying action. Outlining the plot according to its successive units is one version of the unity of a story. We could think of this as the sequential unity of a plot, showing how the story unfolds in linear fashion. But a plot also possesses a spatial unity by which we see that the story all at once, not as a linear structure, but as a single entity. This is the single unifying action of a plot. Here are 4 examples of how the core plot of a story can be formulated as a single action, in which we see the whole story as in a photograph. The story of the fall in Genesis 3 is the story of crime and punishment. The sequential structure of the plot is directly related to that and falls into 3 parts: what led up to the crime, the committing of the crime, and the consequences of the crime. The big unifying action in the story of Gideon, Judges 6 and 8, is Gideon's deliverance of his nation for the oppression of the Midianites. The story of Daniel and his 3 friends in the court of King Nebuchadnezzar is unified by the motif of testing. We observe the circumstances that led up to the test, the process of testing, and the results of the testing. The core action in the story of Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well is Jesus' question to bring the woman to saving faith in him. Some stories introduce a complexity into the situation by being stories with multiple plots. This happens relatively infrequently, but the story of Abraham incorporates 3 overall storylines: the quest of Abraham for land and his son, God's progressive revelation of his covenant to Abraham, and ongoing conflict within Abraham between faith and expediency. All 3 unify the story as a whole. Plot conflict. There is one more aspect of plot unity, and its importance cannot be overstated. It is in the very nature of a plot to be constructed around one or more conflicts. This is simply inherent in the concept of plot. We have never adequately accounted for the plot in a given story until we have determined the plot conflicts that are woven into the plot. Stories do not announce what the plot conflicts are. We need to determine that this takes time and mental energy. We need to expend that time and mental energy with every story that we aspire to master. There is one more dimension of this. Stories are built around plot conflicts that are resolved at the end of the story. The paradigm into which all plots fall is that of a plot conflict moving to solution or resolution. It is as important to analyze the resolution of the plot conflict as it is to identify the conflict. If we do not perform this additional analysis, we leave the plot conflicts dangling in midair. It is also useful to note the possible types of plot conflicts. The grid is as follows: character in conflict with each other, conflict with each one's environments, either nature or society, or conflict with supernatural beings. Inner conflict, character in conflict with themselves. There's also one more grid of conflict that yield dividends when we apply it to the stories, based on the type of conflict, not the agent of conflict, as in the preceding grid. Plot conflicts can be physical in nature, psychological, either mental or emotional, or 3, moral or spiritual. Plot in the story of Paul and Silas in Philippi, Acts 16, 16, and 40. The goal of the following analysis of the story of what happened to Paul and Silas during the missionary visit to the city of Philippi is to illustrate the features of plot that have been delineated above. Those features are 3 in number: plot, sequence, unifying action, and plot conflicts. As we were going to the place of prayer, we were met by a slave girl who had a spirit of innovation that brought her owners much gain. By fortune telling, she followed Paul and us, crying out, "These men are servants of the Most High God, who proclaim to you the way of salvation." And this she kept doing for many days. Paul, having been greatly annoyed, turned and said to the spirit, "I command you in the name of Jesus Christ to come out of her." And it came out that very hour. But when her owners saw that their hope of gain was gone, they seized Paul and Silas and dragged them into the marketplace before the rulers. And when they had brought them into the magistrates, they said, "These men are Jews. They are disturbing our city." The advocate They advocate customs that are not lawful for us Romans to accept or practice. The crowd joined in and attacking them. The magistrates tore their garments off them and gave orders to beat them with rods. And when they had inflicted many blows upon them, they threw them into the prison, ordering the jailer to keep them safely. Having received this order, he put them into the inner prison and fastened their feet in the stocks. About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the prisoners were listening to them. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundation of the prison was shaken. And immediately all the doors were open, and everyone's bonds were unfastened. When the jailer woke and saw the prison doors were open, and drew his sword and was about to kill himself, supposing that the prisoners had escaped. But Paul cried with a loud voice, "Do not harm yourself, for we are all here." And the jailer called for lights and rushed in, and trembling with fear, he fell down before Paul and Silas. Then he brought them out and said, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" And they said, "Believe in the Lord Jesus, and you will be saved, you and your household." And they spoke the word of the Lord to him and to all that were in the house. And he took them the same hour of the night and washed their wounds, and he baptized at once, he and his family. Then he brought up to this house and set food before them. And he rejoiced along with his entire household that he had believed in God. But when it was day, the magistrate sent the police, saying, "Let those men go." And the jailer reported these words to Paul, saying, "The magistrates have sent to let you go. Therefore come out now and go in peace." But Paul said to them, "They have beaten us publicly, uncondemned men who were Roman citizens, and have thrown us into prison. Do they now throw us out secretly? No. Let them come themselves and take us out." The police reported these words to the magistrates, and they were afraid when they heard that they were Roman citizens. So they came and apologized to them, and they took them out and asked them to leave the city. So they went out of the prison and visited Lydia. And when they had seen the brothers, were encouraged them and departed. As we apply the three main considerations to a given story, we should not feel a burden to hit a supposed target at one right way to formulate the issue. Usually we are in a position of choosing from a menu of good options. But that was one good way, not the only good way, to view plot and the story of Paul and Silas in prison. Unifying action. The story we are looking at falls into the category of a prison narrative. The story action is in the imprisonment and release of Paul and Silas. Sequential structure. The process of outlining the phase of action can properly be thought as identifying the action. Two preliminary considerations are that one, we always need to label the parts in such a way as to keep the focus of our formulation of unifying action. And two, in most situations, we need to strike a compromise between unduly brief outlines and overly minute or detailed outlines. Here's an outline that meets those criteria. Verse 16 and 18, prelude to the imprisonment. Verse 19 and 24, attack on Paul and Silas ending in imprisonment. Hey, ancient churchianity, layman, am I ready to learn? Yeah. You asked me if I'm ready to learn. All I can say is I steadily yearn. I always go in after knowledge like I was Johnny Five. So can't even say that I'm not alive. Some people don't even think I'm right. But what can I do? I still spit it up on the mic, trying to shine the light into the darkness. They can look at me saying that I'm heartless, but everybody don't have what the same part is. So some people are so stiff like starches. Anyway, verses 25 and 26, miraculous breaking of the prison bonds. Verses 27 and 34. Interaction with the jailer ended in the salvation of him and his household. Verses 35 and 39. Negotiations with the city officials over the imprisonment. And verse 40. Release from prison. Plot conflicts. Paul and Silas in conflict with the following an annoying slave girl. 16 through 18. The spirit of innovation in the slave girl. The slave girl's owners. The Jewish leaders and city magistrates. The oppressive bondage of prison. The fear and threatened suicide of the jailer, the city magistrates. At various moments, a given plot conflict in the story is resolved by the casting out of the slave girl spirit, by God's miraculous intervention, and by the saving message of the gospel, by the apology of the city officials after they learn about the credentials of Paul and Silas, and by the official release from prison. It is obvious from the plenitude of material that there is no scarcity of analysis that can be done with plot structure and unity. Learning by doing. The threefold grid of sequential structure, unifying action and plot conflict, has been fully explained above. It is now your chance to try your hand at analysis with the story of Abraham's offering of Isaac in Genesis 22, 1 through 29. Okay. We're going to be doing Kings, so I'm just going to read this. After these things, God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. And he said, Take your son and your only son, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer there as a burnt offering on the mountains of which I shall tell you. So Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, took two of the young men with him and his son Isaac, and he cut the wood for the burnt offering, and arose and went into the place of which God had told him. And on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place from afar. Then Abraham said to the young men, Stay here with the donkey. I and the boy will go over there and worship and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took it in his hand, the fire and the knife. And so they went both of them together. And Isaac said to his father, Abraham, my father. And he said, Here I am, my son. He said, Behold, the fire, the wood. But where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham said, God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son. So they went both of them together. When they came to the place in which God had told him, Abraham built the altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. He said, Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram caught in the thicket by the thorns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the name of the place, The Lord will provide, as it said to this day, On the mount of the Lord it shall be provided. And the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, By myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son. I will surely bless you. I will surely multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, as the sand that's on the seashore, and your offspring shall possess the gate of the enemies. And in your offspring shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned to his young men, and they rose and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham lived at Beersheba. Okay, if did you ever believe that Jesus is God before Livy? Why does God need to know Abraham fears God if he's all knowing? Okay, so let me I'll answer this briefly. So did you see this right here? After these things, God tested. Okay? God tested. The narrator, the divine author, is telling us how we should be reading this. Testing doesn't mean to find out what something is. This is metallurgy imagery for refinement, okay? Now the phrase "now I know," and I know that's what you're talking about. Where is it? For now I know. The word "now I know" can just mean now I recognize that you fear God. In other words, it's commendation language. It's not a statement about what God knows. It's commendation language. And this is all throughout the point. No, but the thing is that he didn't know the test. We're told about the test. The test is not to prove something to God. The test refers to refinery. You can look at a book. It's called The Testing of God's Sons by Greg Smith. It goes into detail about this. He was one of my professors. But by the way, Livy, are you a Christian? All right, moving on. Final thoughts on plot, structure, and unity, and then we're going to apply to 1 Kings. The track record of study Bibles and commentaries on the subject of plot, structure, and unity is not as good as it should be. There's a general scarcity of published material on these matters, and also when setting and characterization. In fact, here's a brief list of pitfalls to avoid when you read published material on Bible stories. An overly detailed outline of the successive units of the story. If you or your audience cannot keep the scheme in mind, it's too detailed to be useful. An overly abstract and theological labeling of the plot and its units. A storyteller does not have a topic to present and a thesis to develop. He has a story to tell. Additionally, a story does not have a unifying topic, but a unifying action. Outlines that might attach accurate labels to a given unit, but they do not keep the central unifying action in view. Overly tidy or schematic outlines that do not justice to the specificity of the text. Outlines that make heavy use of alliteration are especially suspect, or sus, as y'all say nowadays. It needs to be said again that these sins of commission and accompanied by sins of omission, saying nothing about plot sequence and unifying action and plot conflicts, If published sources do not provide the needed information or provide misleading information, what can you do? You can practice with the book in parts. You do not need published material. You need the right methodology with which to interact with the Bible stories. This guided study is a how to do it book. By now, you have convinced yourself that you can conduct literary analysis of biblical narratives. That is all you need in order to perform good literary analysis of Bible stories. Anyone can divide a story into successive units and identify plot, conflicts, and formulate an accurate statement of the unifying action of a story. All it takes is being convinced that these are the right things to do with the story. All right. So I'm sorry. I'm rapid rap reading. But there's books out that are called how to read better and faster. But of course that's for silent reading. Most people would typically say, because when you utter things even underneath your breath, it slows you down. But I got a deadline, and that's life. So sorry about that. But if you wanna take a screwed up version, all you got to do is turn the speed down on the video, and that'll slow me down later on to listen. Yeah, Libby, there's so much I could go into about that passage, but I got homework to do on First Kings. I think it's chapter 1. Applying some of this, and I'm just going to freestyle in front of y'all. Okay, you're not a Christian. Were you ever a Christian? Did you ever believe that Jesus is God and your Savior, the one that died on the cross for your sins and resurrected and gave you eternal life when you believe in him? Not really? Okay. Well, I don't know what not really means. Maybe you went to church, but you didn't believe or something. Okay. Thank you, Howdy, for gifting the members. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to be working with First Kings. I need to bring up a document. All right, let's go ahead and throw First Kings in here. Last night, I haven't finished it yet. I was watching that movie War Machine. So what I'm going to do is I want to talk about that real quick. And this is not my first go around when it comes to narrative and all of that stuff. But, different classes emphasize different things. I've been studying this stuff for years. I don't like that format. Let me fix that. Text. Well, text. Something's wrong here. Okay. Styled. You're a non-anti-theist? Okay, that's fine. Howdy, by the way, he's a the guy Howdy that just bought the things, he's currently agnostic. He shows up on the channel a lot. I don't do apologetics to people that are atheists. To be honest, there's not a single argument that I can give that convince anybody. So I just focus on teaching Christians. But there's other channels you can engage for that. The mission statement of the layman seminary is teaching Christians how to study and share their Bible with others. All right. So I want to talk about War Machine real quick. I haven't even watched the last few minutes. I think I got like a few minutes, so forgive me if I mess something up. So War Machine. It's on Netflix, right? Let's go ahead and color it. 2026 movie. And so in War Machine, anytime you're watching narrative or a movie or whatever, the world is disrupted. All right, the world is disrupted. It could be a bright, shiny day and chaos occurs. You know, that type of thing. The status quo is broken. The world is disrupted. That was when his brother. I'm not going to give spoilers. His brother was. Well, if I don't want to give spoilers, I'm going to have to say this: ambush in Afghanistan. Okay, so his world is disrupted, right? And now he enters into a new world, a new challenge, and this would be the Ranger School, right? And he completes this Ranger School. There's psychological things going on, and there's a whole nother motif of that, right? And then, so on the last test of the Ranger School, they encounter a war machine. So the character is a war machine, a human war machine, and the other one is basically, I guess we'll just say alien robot. And so what happens is this robot starts killing them off, and so then it becomes a survival story. But it's very depressing. However, it goes full circle, and even though I haven't watched like the last maybe 5 minutes, it looks like it's going full circle with how do I say this without giving a spoiler? I'm just going to say this: the hero or the protagonist, the one that went to Ranger School and all that, the protagonist looks like he completes something that was driving him. In the based on what happened in Afghanistan and why he went into Ranger School and all of that. Okay, so if this was to, if we were to map this on, I think his name is Faytag's pyramid. So we got our setting, I guess you could say. You got your rising action. You got your first conflicts. You got a climax. But actually, I would kind of do something like this. I would probably do something like that, and then here, and then the fallen action resolution be something like this. So in War Machine, right? You got Afghanistan, and you got Rangers here, right? And then there seems to be that final task, but then you face the machine, and the climax. Well, it's a survival thing going on here like this. And the survival, it's kind of weird because it dissipates as it goes, but it's like, I'm just going to call it return from mission. Okay, so you take that, you have, when you're talking about these character battles, you got man versus man. You do have a little bit of that in there, but this is more about man versus himself, dealing with grief, dealing with PTSD type stuff. Can he be a leader? And then it's man versus machine or alien. And then man working together. So those are some of the ideas there. So that's for that. All right, that's secular. But that's why God used narrative, because it's so easy to catch. Most of the Bible is narrative. We can follow it. All right. We don't need that anymore. All right. Okay, so now King David was old. So we got to break in the narrative with the now. Now King David was old, advanced in age, and they covered him with clothes, but he could not keep warm. Okay, so we got a problem. Problem, old and cold. All right. So the servant said to him, let them seek a young virgin for my lord and my king, and let her attend the king and become his nurse, and let her lie in your bosom, that my lord the king will keep warm. So this is a proposed solution. Yeah, but here's the thing about it. This is innuendo, I guess you could say, or a callback, or an allusion. Maybe that's the best term. Illusion for sexual prowess. Yeah, David's used to having multiple women. Let's put him a woman in there. So they searched for a beautiful girl throughout all the territory of Israel and found Abishag the Shunammite and brought her to the king. Okay, so this is the selection. The girl was very beautiful, and so it's giving you more detail about that. Which the beautiful motif was something that David, his family, his character always showed up. The girl was very beautiful, and she became the king's nurse and served him. But the king did not cohabit with her. So the king is old, impotent, and near death. Now Adonijah, the son of Haggith, exalted himself. So earlier in the book, I think it was 2 Samuel, you had this idea of whenever I can't remember the guy's name, he exalted his self by trying to sleep with one of Saul's wives or whatever. So you kind of have the same thing going on here. He exalted himself, saying, "I will be king." So he prepared for himself chariots and horsemen with 50 men to run before them. But he didn't sleep with other women. He's like, okay, the king is old, near death. I'm going to he's exalting himself, saying, I will be king. Okay, so we got a challenger to the throne. His father had never crossed him at any time by asking, why have you done so? It's interesting it mentions his father like he's at fault or something. And he was also a very handsome man. So there's the beautiful, handsome thing. And he was born after Absalom. Okay, so this is David. David's not asking questions. And he's born after Absalom. Because David was not the same after Absalom's death. It's kind of like what the implication is. Maybe I'll put that. David, not the same. He had conferred with Job, the son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar the priest, and following Adonijah, they helped him. Okay, so this is a plot, a collusion. What do you call it? Conspiracy? I'm going to put conspiracy for now. Hey, I can't say your name, the Eastern Orthodox guy. Elise Weeze. Forgive me. I don't know how to pronounce that. Is all we see. 3 is all we see. Maybe that's what it is. But Zadok the priest, Benaniah the son of Jedediah, Nathan the prophet, Shimei Ray, and the mighty men that belonged to David were not. Okay, so this is David's loyalists. Uh, I'm not on Solomon right now, but that's a good question we can get at. Clay? Okay, yes, I'll call you Clay. Um. Okay, let's see here. Adonijah sacrificed sheep and oxen fatling by the stone of Zoleth, which is besieged in Rogel, and invited all his brothers, the king's son, and all the men of Judah and king's servants. So this dude's partying, man. He's trying to gain influence. But he did not invite Nathan the prophet. Yeah, because he knew. So this is I would say rejection of God. Benaniah, the mighty man, the Solomon, and Solomon his brother. Rejection of God and David's cabinet. Then Nathan spoke to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, saying, "Have you not heard that Adonijah, the son of Haggith, had become king, and David our Lord does not know it?" Now this is interesting. So the prophet moves. The prophet counters by enlisting or wiring up Bathsheba, you could say. Enlisting Bathsheba. So this is intervention of God. So, all right. So now come, please let me give you counsel and save your life and the life of your son Solomon. Okay, and so this is the one of the reasons, because God has to be faithful to the Davidic covenant, so Solomon has to be preserved. Okay. Go at once to King David and say to him, "Have you not, my lord, O king, sworn to your maidservant, saying, Surely Solomon your son shall be king after me and shall sit on my throne? Then why has Adonijah become king?" Oh, yeah. So it's kind of like a doubt thing. Like, why have you let this happen? Almost. Behold, while you are still there speaking with the king, I will come in after you and confirm your word. So they're plotting on David here. Plotting on David. Prophet plotting on David. Prophet plotting on David. So Bathsheba went into the king in the bedroom, which this is interesting because this seems to be a callback, right? Because we know what happened was when David and Bathsheba were in the bedroom last time. I mean, in the narrative. Now, the king was very old, so it wasn't nothing going on this time, right? The king was very old, and Abishag, the Shemite, was ministering to the king. Okay, so that's another woman. So call back to 2 Samuel, what is it, 12 or Kings? I can't remember what book it is, but I'll just say to David's fall. But new woman. And that woman earlier is the one that was mentioned earlier. Abishag. There's a shag joke in there, most likely, if you look hard enough. All right. Okay. Then Bathsheba bowed and prostrated herself before the king, and the king said, "What do you wish?" All right. So this is the enactment of it. The other part was the plot. This is the enactment of it. Whether it's the game is afoot kind of type thing. She said to him, "My lord, you swore to your maidservant of the Lord your God, saying, Sure, your servant should be king after me, sit down on my throne. At the me shall throw. Now behold, Adonijah is king, and now, my lord the king, you do not know it." She said it way differently. said it differently than Nathan suggested. Now, maybe she was given the sense of it, but it seems to be more of an accusation in this form. I don't know. He has sacrificed oxen, fatling. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of parallel structure here. And so that's what I'm assuming here. I don't know if it's chiastic, but it might be what's called a panel. So look at this. You have the sacrifice of the offerings. We'll make that pink. Sacrifice sheep and oxen. Okay. All right. But it's and he invited all the sons of King and Abathar the priest, Joab commander, but he has not invited. All right, so that's the David's cabinet, if you want, which was mentioned earlier too. And so it seems to be following that pattern. Because look, here's the cabinet mentioned right here. So it does seem to be inverted idea here. Okay. As for you now, my lord the king, the eyes of all Israel are on you, to tell them who shall sit on the throne of the Lord. So this is basically a call for impotent David to act. It's like a last. He's got to. This is his final business that he has to complete to ensure the kingdom is transferred. Otherwise, it will come about as soon as my lord the king sleeps with his fathers that my son Solomon will be considered defenders. And so that relates to the exalt stuff earlier, right? What's his name wanted to exalt himself. So this is the problem. He's trying to stop this from happening. But the Davidic covenant guarantees that there will be a descendant of David. Anyway. Behold, while she was still speaking with the king, Nathan the prophet came in. Same structure, right? They told the king, saying, here's Nathan the prophet. And when he came in before the king, he prostrated himself before the king with his face to the ground. So, respect. Even though they're being slick, still there's respect. Then Nathan said, my lord the king, have you said Adonijah shall be king after me? He shall sit on the throne. All right. So this is a repeated idea. So the wife plus prophet. He's getting a double whammy right here. For he has gone down today and has sacrificed oxen and fatlings. So once again, there's that repetition again. And sheep in abundance, and has invited all the king's son and the commanders of the army and Abathar the priest. And behold, so there's the oppositions, the ops, we could say. But me, even me, your servant, and Zadok the priest, and Benaniah son of Jediah, your servant, he has not invited. So loyalists. Okay. Has this thing been done by my lord and king? Is it your fault? Now, it hasn't. And you have not shown to your servants who should sit on the throne. So they're making me say, is this your fault? What have you failed to do? It's what it almost sounds like. Then King David said, call Bathsheba to me. Okay, so the woman. And she came to the king's presence, stood before the king. The woman. It's interesting he calls her. He could have just told the prophet. The king vowed and said, as the Lord lives, who has redeemed my life from all distress, surely as I vowed to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, saying, your son Solomon shall be king after me, and he shall sit on my throne in my place. I will indeed do so this day. So this is his oath that he's making to Bathsheba. Yeah. Then Bathsheba bowed with her face to the ground and prostrated herself before the king and said, "May my lord king live forever." So submission, you could say. Respect, submission. Then King David said, "Call to me Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, Benaniah the son." And they came into the king's presence. So his crew. And the king said to them, "Take with you the servants of your lord, and have my son Solomon ride on my own mule, and bring him down to the Gihon." All right, so he said, "Take my ride." Letting you know, take my private jet. Let Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anoint him there as king over Israel, and blow the trumpet and say, "Long live the king." All right, so this is pomp. Then he shall come after him. He shall come and sit on my throne and be king in my place, for I have appointed him to be ruler over Israel and Judah. So there's the transfer. It's interesting. Nathan is not doing the anointing. It looks like David is doing it. I have appointed him. Benaniah the son of Jehoiada answered the king and said, "Amen. Thus may the Lord, the God of my king, say, as the Lord has been with my lord the king, so it may be with Solomon, and make his throne greater than the throne of my lord David king." All right. So this is a good thing. This is legacy language. And if Saul heard that, he'd be jealous. I think he'd be jealous even if it was said about Jonathan. So Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, Benaniah the son of Jedidiah, the Kerethites, Perethites went down Solomon ride on King David's mule and brought him to Gihon. All right, so they rode out. Zadok the priest then took the horn of oil from the tent and anointed. Okay, so Zadok is the actual one that does it. We could say delegated. David sounded like he was saying it. So are the priests submissive to the king at this point? All the people went up after him, and the people were playing on flutes and rejoicing with great joy, so the earth shook with noise. All right, joy. So it's a happy ending, looks like. Now Adonijah and all the guests who were with him heard it as they finished eating. When Joab heard the sound of the trumpet, he said, "Why is the city making such an uproar?" Now notice it's Joab. Joab is related to David, but Joab is his commander that killed what's-his-name earlier in the story. So while he was still speaking, behold, Jonathan, the son of Abiathar, the priest, came. So, okay, so we got a priest on the scene. Not police on the scene. That's Vanilla Ice song. Then Adonijah came, "Come in, for you are a valiant man and bring good news." But Jonathan replied to Adonijah, "No, our Lord King David has made Solomon king." The king has sent with him Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, Benaniah the son of Jai, all the people that he didn't want there in the first place, right? All right, so the crew rose in on the ops. All right. Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, have anointed him king again, and they have come for the rejoicing, so that the city is in an uproar. This is the noise which you heard. So this is joy. Besides, Solomon has even taken his seat on the throne of David. It's like saying, too late. Wherever the king's servants came to bless our Lord King David, saying, man, he's just piling it on. "May your God make the name of Solomon better than your name and throne greater than your throne." And the king bowed himself on the bed. That's interesting. That is a weakness. Like he's given up his ghost spirit. He's not dead at this time. The king has also said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who has granted." Okay, so he's in prayer. The king has also said this, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who has granted to sit on the throne of day while I see it." Maybe that's prayer. Then all the guests at Adonijah were terrified. Yeah, because y'all are guilty of treason. And they rose and went out of his way. And Adonijah, so no one's left at this party. Adonijah was afraid of Solomon, and he arose, went, and took hold of the horns of the altar. Okay. Now it was told Solomon, saying, "Behold, Adonijah is afraid of King Solomon, for behold, he's taken hold of the horns of the altar." You're not supposed to touch the altar, guys. If this is the Ark of the Covenant, no, it's not. No, this is not the Ark of the Covenant. This is the altar. So he's pleading by mercy based on the altar. But he's committed treason. It's a capital crime, saying, "Let King Solomon swear to me today that he will not put the servant to death with the sword." Solomon said, "If he's a worthy man, not one of his hairs will fall to the ground. But if wickedness is found in him, he will die." So King Solomon sent, and they brought him down from the altar. And he came and prostrated himself before King Solomon. And Solomon said to him, "Go to your house." So he lets him make it for now. Okay, and he comes up later on in the story. All right, so let me look at the comments real quick before we go through and start plotting this. All right, make the text a little bit bigger. Yeah, I can make the text bigger in here. Oh, you know what? I can make it 16 font. I'll make it bold, and I'll up it to 16 font. Okay. So we got to start kind of tracing this structure a little bit, right? King David's old, the problem of old and code. All right. The problem is the king isn't performing well. Let's just say that. All right. That's the first part. And so I'm gonna not even try to bring in the old solution and all that. David's son takes advantage of the situation. Maybe I just simplify it. David's son attempts to take the throne. Okay. So David's weak. This happens. All right. There's a conspiracy. That's all underneath that idea. And then this is, maybe I'll put this, while the conspiracy occurs, David's crew remain loyal. Okay. All right. God intervenes to get David to act one final time. That's the prophet acting. Let's see here. All right. David acts one last time by enthroning Solomon. Um, all right. David's son's party is a bust. And he's exiled, is that right? Yeah, he's exiled by Solomon. All right. Now I want to copy this. All right. So we'll go back to the top. The problem is the king isn't performing well. So we'll say that's 1 through 1 through 4. Okay. One 5 through 7. Okay. And then looks like 1-8. Oh no, it's more than 1-8. 1-8 until 1-10. God arranged to get David to act one final time. 1-11 through 18, I think. Oh, 19 also. Oh, it goes all the way to 27. David acts one last time by enthroning 28 through 40. David's son party is a bust, and he's exiled by Solomon. One 41 through 53. Okay, so this is the structure that we got here. The problem is the king isn't performing well. He's old. David's son attempts to take the throne, so he's trying to take advantage. While this conspiracy occurs, David's crew remains loyal. God intervenes to get David to act one final time through Nathan and Bathsheba. David acts one last time by throning Solomon, and David's son party is a bust, and he's exiled by Solomon. So if we were to map that, okay, you got the king, give him a woman, there's a problem there, right? Then you got the rebellion going on, and then after the rebellion, you have Nathan the prophet acting, right? And then you have David finally acting, and as a result of his acting, you have this resolution. So this would be old David, right? Old David can't perform, and then we could have his son rising up. All right. And then we have the prophet intervening through Bathsheba to get him to act. And then Solomon's in power. The transition is complete. And it's left for a part 2, because it's like, will Solomon kill him? Or another way to say it, will Adonijah, will he be found, what's it say, worthwhile or worthful? I can't remember the exact language. Will he pass the test, you could say. So that seems to be the structure that I'm seeing right here. Now let's go into Reich in a little bit more detail. Let's make sure that we got all this. So what we're going to do, did I go too far? We're going to go to ChatGPT. Create procedures for study based on this chapter for Briken. Okay, it's using my new stuff. That's cool. All right, I can erase this now. All right. So, yeah, this is my new way that I got ChatGPT on this. I've been using it on Twitter. Every question, everything I tell it to do, it now starts out flipping it to a question, and it tells you that it's written by super layman response. Then someone suggested I do a too long didn't read version. So that's what this is. Reich's chapter yields a repeatable study method. Identify the unifying action. Okay. The unifying action of that would probably be like conspiracy, or to trying to get David to be faithful to his oath and watch how the unfolding of the Davidic covenant is, something like that. Divide the story into sequential units. Okay, we kind of did that. Label units so they support the central action. Identify plot conflicts. Trace conflict resolution. Classify conflict types. Verify unity and coherence of the whole narrative. Below is the procedural workflow that can be used on any biblical narrative. Procedures for studying plot structure, Riken method. Phase 1, establish narrative boundaries. Go, identify the unit of narrative being studied. Well, that was easy. We're doing 1 Kings chapter 1. Procedure, determine the story unit, pericope or episode. So it's 1 Kings 1. Confirm that the passage forms a coherent narrative scene. Yeah, I mean, that's the one that we're assigned. So I'm going to take that as a given for this one. Mark the beginning and the ending verses. Okay. So if we look at the beginning and the ending, what do we have? David is old. Sad situation, right? What is the ending? Solomon, who's the legacy of David, is now king in authority, and the people are rejoicing in joy, looks like. Read the passage multiple times with an analysis to grasp the storyline. Okay, we've read it twice. That's good enough for now. Output, define narrative unit. Phase 2, identify the unifying action. Go, determine the single action that holds the story together. Procedure, ask, what is happening in the story overall? Well, David's son is using that as an opportunity to try to prevent Solomon from being on the throne. Express the answer as a single action statement, not a theological topic. Okay. Conspiracy to usurp, to prevent Solomon from reigning. Phrase the action using verbs, not abstract nouns. Okay, so I might say something like this. David's son conspires to keep, I might say conspires against David to keep Solomon off the throne, or from taking the throne. Guidelines: avoid theological abstractions, focus on what characters do or experience, keep it concise. Example patterns: X delivers Y from Z. Okay. X tests Y, X rescues Y, X confronts Y. Okay. Output: one sentence core plot action. Phase 3, divide the plot into sequential units. Go, identify the chain of cause effect events. Procedure. All right, sequential units. We kind of already did this, but read the story slowly. Mark event transitions. I kind of did that. Draw horizontal lines between the events. And so what they're saying is this, is when you're studying your Bible, I sure hope I'm reading the right passage. Is it 2 Kings 1 or 1 Kings? Let me go check my assignment. Sorry, guys. I might have just gave a bad example of my class. That ain't cool. All right. Let's see here. Okay, 1 Kings 1. All right, I'm good. All right. Mark event transition. So let me just, I'm going to make this small just for a minute. I know people are like, hey, can you make that bigger? What they're saying is whenever you're studying the Bible, or like if you want to print out a sheet, what you should do, I'll just use this as an example. is when you're reading the text, you should draw a line to where you think the narrative breaks. Don't pay attention to these titles, but they kind of said the same thing I did. David is old, right? Nathan and Bathsheba, so that's the counterplot. But what they want you to do, let's just pretend these are correct. David is old age. They want you to draw lines on an observation sheet so that you can see that's not a real division, but so that you could get an idea about the different divisions, and then you can write observations on it. That's what they're showing. In a minute, I'll run an example on another passage so you can see how this works. Mark event transitions, draw horizontal lines between events, divide the story into scenes or episodes, so you're breaking it down even more. Possible units: scenes, episode, events, acts. So if we go back, well, I'll do it in a minute because it's below here. I'll go back in and do the scene thing. You go through and you think like if you're watching a movie, like how the scenes shift, what's going on there. Guidelines. Units should represent change in action. Avoid too many units for teaching context. Use fine detail and private analysis, broader units in teaching. That's kind of like the pink words I had earlier. Output, sequential outline of events. Phase 4, label each plot unit. The goal, name the events clearly and accurately. Procedure, sort of like what I was doing a while ago. Assign a short descriptive label to each unit. Ensure the label describes the action, not the theology. Make labels consistent with the unifying action. Okay. Test. Ask, does this label contribute to the core action? Example pattern. Prelude to the crisis. Conflict escalation. Divine intervention. Resolution. Output. Action-based outline. Phase 5. Identify plot conflicts. Goal. Determine the tensions driving the narrative. Procedure. Ask, what problem or opposition drives the story? 2. Identify all major conflicts. 3. List them explicitly. See, I was doing all this automatically. Conflict types by agent. Character versus character. Character versus environment or society. Character versus supernatural. Character versus self. Conflict type by nature. Physical, psychological, moral, spiritual. Output, conflict, inventory. Phase 6, trace conflict resolution. Go, identify how each tension is resolved. Procedure, locate the moment where conflict ends. 2, identify who resolves the conflict, God, character, or the event. Okay. 3, describe the mechanism of resolution. Resolution forms, miracle, repentance, judgment, deliverance, reconciliation. Output, conflict resolution map. Okay. So I would need to go in and nuance what I've got my notes so far, but this is fine. Phase 7, evaluate plot unity. Go, confirm that all parts support the story's core action. Procedure, reread the narrative outline. Ask 3 questions. Do all events contribute to the central action? Is it about the conspiracy? Does the story progress logically? Do conflicts resolve at the end? Revise labels if needed. Output, confirm narrative unity. Phase 8, synthesize the narrative structure. Go, produce a narrative interpretive summary. Final format should include unifying action, sequential outline, plot conflicts, conflict resolution, example structure. Unifying action, sequential structure, plot conflicts, resolution. Output, final plot analysis. Optional advanced steps. Oh, isn't that nice of you? Highly useful for biblical narratives. Add a theological narrative layer. Okay. Procedure. Ask how the plot functions with covenantal history. Yeah, it's going off of my model, what I've taught it to do. So this relates to the Davidic covenant. Identify God's role in the action. Yeah, God's intervened with the prophet. We already covered that. Observe how the narrative contributes to redemptive history. But note Ryken's warning. Do not replace the action with theology. Pitfalls to avoid with Ryken. Avoid overtly detailed outlines, abstract theological labels, ignoring plot conflicts, schematic outlines that distort the story. Good narrative analysis stays concrete and action-centered. Condensed study algorithm. Use this checklist when studying any narrative. Identify story boundaries, state the unifying action, divide the narrative into events, label each event, identify plot conflicts, trace conflict resolution, verify narrative unity, produce final outline. And then it says, if you like, I could create, and it wants to do all that. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to tell it what passage I'm studying because we're going to do it on another passage. Let's do apply this to 1 Samuel 1. Okay, that's about Hannah and all that. Now I'll make this larger so you can see it. All right, so how does plot structure work in 1 Samuel according to Ryken's method? Too long, didn't read. Version. 1 Samuel is unified by God granting Hannah a son after her anguished prayer for deliverance from barrenness. The narrative progresses through escalating conflict, barrenness, humiliation, misunderstanding, toward divine resolution, Samuel's birth and dedication. The sequential structure shows movement from distress, prayer, divine remembrance, fulfillment, and consecration. Text observations, sequential structure, plot units. Following Ryken's method, the narrative divides into clear action units. 1. Family introduction in Hannah's barrenness, 1, 1, and 2. Elkanah has 2 wives, Hannah is barren, while Peninnah has children. 2. Ritual worship at Shiloh and domestic humiliation, 1, 3 through 8. During annual worship, Peninnah provokes Hannah because of her barrenness. Hannah weeps and refuses food. 3. Hannah's prayer and vow, 1, 9 through 11. Hannah prays silently in anguish and vows that if God grants a son, she would dedicate him to the Lord as a Nazarite-like servant. 4. Eli misinterprets Hannah's prayer, 1, 12 through 16. Eli assumes she's drunk. Hannah clarifies she's praying from deep distress. 5. Eli blesses Hannah, 17 through 18. Eli pronounces the blessing. Hannah leaves comforted. 6. Divine remembrance and conception, 1, 19 and 20. The Lord remembered her and Hannah conceived Samuel. 7. Hannah delays Shiloh visit until Samuel is weaned, 121 to 23. She remains home until the child is ready for dedication. 8. Samuel presented to the Lord, 124 to 28. Hannah fulfills her vow and dedicates Samuel permanently to temple service. Overriding unifying action. The core action of the story can be stated. God grants Hannah a son in response to her anguished prayer, and she dedicates the child to the Lord. Okay, so there's the main language. Grants, right? All right. Alternative formulation still valid. God reverses Hannah's barrenness through answered prayer, or Hannah petitions God for a son and fulfills a vow by dedicating him. The action centers not merely on birth, but on divine intervention leading to consecration. Plot conflicts, character conflicts. Hannah versus Peninnah. Peninnah provokes Hannah repeatedly. Hannah versus Eli, misunderstanding. I'm just going to read the top of these. Environmental social conflict. Hannah, barrenness, and what it meant in the culture at that time. Inner conflict, her internal anguish. Supernatural conflict, divine withholding of fertility. Conflict resolution. Each conflict resolves sequentially. Peninnah's provocation, resolved by Samuel's birth. Barrenness, resolved by divine remembrance. Eli's misunderstanding, resolved by Hannah's explanation. Inner anguish, resolved through prayer and divine response. Covenantal tension, resolved through Samuel's dedication. The final resolution occurs when Hannah fulfills her vow and Samuel begins service at Shiloh. Narrative movement. The story follows a clear dramatic arc. Distress, petition, divine action, fulfillment, dedication. More precisely, humiliation in these forms right here. Genre, this is a birth narrative with vow fulfillment, similar to Isaac, Samson, John the Baptist. Composition function within Samuel. It introduces Samuel, the transitional prophet who would judge Israel, anoint Saul, David. Thus, Hannah's personal story launches a major historical shift in Israel. Covenant context, that's mine. Barrenness reversals signal divine intervention in covenant history. Canonical role, that's mine too. Within the broader canon, the story contributes to the recurrent biblical pattern. God brings redemptive agents through miraculous births, which includes Jesus' birth as well. Decision, the best synthesis using Ryken's framework. Unifying action. God's answer Hannah's desperate prayer, for a son, and she dedicates a child to lifelong service. Sequential structure. There it is, all right there. We've already saw it. Plot conflicts, we've already saw those. The resolutions, we've already seen those. Objections. The story is about Samuel, not Hannah. Response. The narrative perspective and the emotional center of Hannah's experience. Samuel appears primarily as a resolution of Hannah's conflict. Objection. The unifying action should be Samuel's birth. Response. Birth alone is insufficient because the story climaxes with Samuel's dedication, not merely his birth. Confidence high. The narrative cleanly fits Riken's threefold framework: sequential structure, unifying action, a plot conflict, and resolution. And then it just shows you what else you could do, right? So now let's bring this full circle. Apply this to the movie. And if you don't want spoilers, don't listen to this part. The movie War Machine that's currently on Netflix 2026. It got confused the other day when I was studying about War Machine. Because I was like, man, isn't there another movie named War Machine? But how does plot structure work in the film War Machine according to Riken's narrative? Too long didn't reign. The film is unified by generals' attempt to win the war in Afghanistan through a... No. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. So I got to show it. You got the wrong movie. The Afghanistan part's right, but you're right. I analyzed the wrong film earlier. The one you referenced is the new Netflix sci-fi film, war film. Below is Riken plot analysis applied to the correct film. What is the plot structure of War Machine? Too long didn't read. The film is unified by a soldier's attempt to survive and stop an advanced military war machine after it turns against humans. The plot progresses through deployment, technological catastrophe, survival conflict, confrontation, destruction of the machine. The dominant conflict is humanity versus autonomous military technology, resolved through the protagonist disabling the machine. Yeah, but that's not all that's going on. Text observations, military. All right, so introduction to soldier mission movement, deployment, technological. Okay, so yeah, it's going off to just character environment. Okay, types of conflicts. Okay, there it is. Psychological conflict. That's probably the best part of it. Okay, so here's the conflict resolution. Technology versus humans, resolved by the machine destruction. Survival conflict, resolved by protagonist victory. Technological crisis, resolved by disabling the system. All right, narrative movement, genre, military sci-fi, decision. Okay. Trace the protagonist psychological unveiling in the plot. All right. The protagonist-centered development unfolds in 5 stages across the plot: confidence, disruption, disorientation, moral awakening, resolved agency. Yeah, because his brother wanted to do this, but he made a promise to his brother. The psychological arc mirrors the external conflict with the machine. As the technology becomes more uncontrollable, the protagonist moves from trust in the system to recognition of technological hubris, and ultimately the personal responsibility to stop it. Text observations. All right. Psychological stage 1. Trust in military systems. Yeah, because he worked on machines and stuff, but controlled competence, cognitive disruption. It's not giving you the details. Deal with the death of his brother and the mission to bring the guy back on stretcher and how few of the Rangers survived. The protagonist's psychology developed through a trauma sequence embedded in the plot. Brotherhood, catastrophic loss, guilt, and guilty hardened resolve. The mission to retrieve the wounded soldier on a stretcher becomes a narrative pivot where the protagonist moves from personal grief to sacrificial leadership, especially as only a few Rangers survived the operation. Okay, yeah, it got it a little bit better. It's just going through. Now, explain why your analysis of War Machine did not initially include these features. I think it saw the genre and just focused on there. My first analysis missed those elements because it treated the film as a macro plot level rather than a scene level narrative analysis. It also began from an incorrect film identification. Yeah, but we fixed that, so that ain't the problem. The combination meant I summarized the external conflict arc, but did not trace the psychological hinge scenes, specifically the brother's death and the Ranger evacuation mission. When Reich's method is applied correctly, those scenes belong to the middle escalation phase where inner conflict emerges and therefore should have been included. Okay, so chart this on Faytag's pyramid. Let's see if it makes the chart. Yeah, you're doing all the steps, but show me the dang chart. Create image of it. Image. Hey, Derek. There we go. Ain't that beautiful, guys? So you got exposition, setting established, Ranger unit, brother relationship, inciting incident, deployment into lethal mission, inciting the climax, brother's death, and stretcher evacuation, peak emotion, air crest. Why would it put the brother's death there? Fall in action, few Rangers, mission outcome unfold, resolution, protagonist transformed by loss. All right. Create one for 1 Samuel 1. And while that's slowing on that, I'll look for the video that I have on narrative. I think it's called narrative. Genesis something. Let's see. Yeah, there should be 2 videos back to back. Okay, so the exposition section is family tension, rival Pania, introduction to Hannah, inciting incident, bitterly prays for a son, Hannah goes to Shiloh, inciting, climax, divine blessing from Eli, Hannah conceives Samuel, there's the blessing, fallen action, Hannah fulfills her vows, Samuel dedicated to God, resolution, barrenness reversal, Samuel lifelong service. Okay. So now I got to remember how to do this. It's been a while. Okay, we could turn the sound down. Yeah, just a little bit like that. Then we're going to share the screen. No, we want to Chrome tab. Challenge you to study the Bible. Turn this up. Turn the speed up. We'll try 1.5.
Good, thank you.
All right, will you pray?
Oh no. Asawa ko.
I'm eating.
I'm sorry.
Dear Lord, as Janet prays with her mind, but she can't. Janet was in Hong Kong at this time. Pray with her mouth. Lord, we just ask you to bless this Bible study. Help us. Thank you for allowing me to live another year, Lord, and thank you for having communication with my wife, Lord. And we pray for more, and we trust you in everything. Please, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. What was that? What did you get?
I don't know.
Thank God for giving you more life and more life.
Okay, so what year this was? This was it's been a while. I can't remember. I would say this probably about 4 years ago. Oh, it says right down here. This is 2021. Yeah. The Big Idea of Narrative Dispensational Theology. This title is coming from 2 books. One of them, Elliot Johnson's Dispensation. Yes, Janet's my wife, Simon. Biblical Theology. And the other one is a textbook I'm reading for seminary about the Big Idea of Narrative. I didn't want to call it Big Idea of Narrative, and then people look for that book. I just wanted, to relate it to the dispensation series that we're doing. So there's a reminder about a dispensation of biblical theology by Elliot Johnson. And this is his definition for dispensationalism. Dispensationalism is a narrative biblical theology. So as we're looking at how to deal with biblical narrative, we should keep these methods or things in mind. That way we can better understand Elliot Johnson's book, even though today we're not going to be in Elliot Johnson's book, okay? So the first step, let me see if I need to move this. Yeah, there's steps. I haven't put them on a slide yet, but I will get them. I will get them right here. I don't know why it's not open. This is when I had a square monitor. That's why it looks like that. These are the 14 steps, okay?
Oh,
yeah, basically how to interpret narrative. So we need to first find the beginning and the end of the story. We need to divide it into block scenes.
What's that mean, block scenes?
It could be a change of person, a change of place, something like that. Pretend like you're making a Bible movie, like you're watching Arrow, or something, and how when a scene changes. Like 1 minute they may be in Arrow's lab, and the next minute they're outside, or something like that. It's changing scenes.
Okay.
Then
interesting.
Then you make descriptive summaries for each one of the scenes and put it on the plot line. Okay. And I'm going to talk to you about plot in a minute. What?
Oh, nothing. You already said.
Okay. Then you place the narrative into context. What comes before, what comes after. After that, you determine the design of it. You see if it's written in first person or third person. Is there anything out of place? Are there any flashbacks? Is it a comedy or a tragedy? Okay. Then you want to try to find out what the inciting incident is. In other words, what begins the action. Then you go into identifying the characters. And then you want to find what this author calls the super objective.
Can I have that?
Janet, it's recording, so you have it. The super objective is what the author is trying to accomplish with what he's saying. Then you highlight the dialogue, and then you plot things. You see, okay, how much is being mentioned, how much time is being spent on this scene, so on. Then you want to note the connection between the inciting incident and the climax, and to find out what is revealed. And so we ask the question, what is the revelation between climax and conclusion?
Guys, this is 2021. This is before ChatGPT existed. I'm just showing you I do my own work. ChatGPT just helps in ministry, like to do things faster, but I know how to do all this on my own. Thank you, Simon, for the blessing. Appreciate it.
And then we look at the author's agenda, and then we look at rhetorical structures, and then we lay out the evidence. Okay.
Hey, AD33.
So the first thing we're going to do, the first step is to read and find the beginning and the ending of the story. Okay.
Find the ending and the beginning and ending of the story.
Yes, it says read until you find the beginning and the end. But I don't think the one that we're doing today is too hard. But let me just show you about plot structure while we're here. Okay. So this is called Freytag's pyramid. It's one of the theories early on about how narrative works. So you have
Can I excuse me, please? Will you say something? Will you tell me about the five structure? The five materials, I should say.
Yes,
I know this is a different. Please just tell me. Thanks.
What materials?
Studying the Bible.
General materials?
Yeah, the general materials of the Bible.
Biographical, geographical, historical, chronological, and ideological.
That is the what, when, where, who, right?
Basically, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right. So you have the exposition. This is with the introduction, okay? Then you're gonna have, Then you're gonna have where conflict, something happens, okay?
I'm glad it's blessing you.
Then there's a conflict. There's a continuous struggle. There's a climax. Like what's gonna happen?
You made that? You made this diagram?
No, I didn't make it.
Oh, okay.
So climax, and then that's the turning point, and then the following action is how things are solved, and then the ending. All right. Now, close your eyes for 1 minute. Here,
Close my eyes for 1 minute.
Wait, hold on.
Really?
I'll do it myself.
Oh, okay.
I just have to erase my answers.
Yeah,
Not fair. It's not recorded. I mean,
yeah, I know who Tom McDonald is. He's got skills. Sadly, all his songs eventually start sounding the same. So there's that. But I'm not against the guy. It just, I like variety. I like the fact that, don't get me wrong, he's cleaner than Eminem. But I like the fact that when Eminem does something, he does it different every time. He's constantly improving. I'm not saying Tom McDonald doesn't, but he's more rock influence. Well, Eminem is too, but I understand y'all take the conservative views and stuff. But yeah, I've known about Tom McDonald since he first came out.
The one that you're doing there.
What are you talking about?
Because you said close my eyes. Why you need to close my eyes? What? Why?
You'll see.
See?
Okay, so you need.
So this is when Janet's. This is after her church. She's in the room that they used to meet in, and this is where we would study.
Should be we're in Genesis 31. So you need to find the beginning and the end of the story.
Genesis chapter 31, the beginning and the end.
Yes.
So I need to read it.
Yes, you do. So start going.
My God, it's challenging. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's. Wait. Repeat. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all was our father's, and from what belongs to our father he has made all things well. And Jacob saw the attitude of Laban, and behold, it was not friendly towards him as it had been before. Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. It seems like when God called Abraham.
Okay.
I will be with you. So Jacob sent word and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field, and said to them, I see your father's attitude, and it is not friendly towards me as it was before. But the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has chided me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to do me harm. If he said this, the speckled shall be your wages. Then all the flock delivered speckled. And if he said this, the stripe shall be yours wages. Then all the flock delivered stripe. So God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me. And if came out and it came out at the end when the flock was breeding, that I raised my eyes and saw it in a dream, and behold, the male goats that were meeting were striped, speckled, or mottled. Then the angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob. Jacob, and I said, where am I? Where am I? Jacob, and I said, here am I. He said, now raise your eyes and see that all the male goats and that are meeting are striped, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen everything that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed and memorial stone, where you made a vow to me. Now rise, leave this land, and return to the land of your birth. Rachel and Leah said to him, do we still have any share or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not regarded by him as foreigners? For he has sold us and has also entirely consumed our purchase price. Surely all the wealth which God has taken away from our father belongs to us and our children. Now then, do whatever God has told you. Then Jacob stood up and put his children and his wives on camels, and he drove away all his livestock and all his property which he had acquired, the livestock he possessed, which he had acquired in Padan Aram, to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. Laban had gone to share his flock, and Rachel stole the household idols that were her father's. And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. So he fled with all that he had, and he got up and crossed the Euphrates River and set out for the hill country of Gilead. When Laban was informed in the third day that Jacob had fled, he took his kinsmen with him and pursued him a distance of 7 days' journey, and he overlooked him in the hill country of Gilead. However, God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream of the night and said to him, be careful that you do not speak to Jacob either good or bad. And Laban caught up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsmen camped in the hill country of Gilead. Then Laban said to Jacob, what have you done by deceiving me and carrying away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me? And did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with joy and with songs, with tambourines and with lyre, and did not allow me to kiss my children, my grandchildren, and my daughters. Now you have done foolishly. It is in my power to do harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, be careful not to speak either good or bad to Jacob. Now you have indeed gone away because you long greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? Then Jacob replied to Laban, because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. The one with whom you find your God shall not live. In the presence of our relatives, point out what is yours among my belongings and take it for yourself. Now Jacob, but Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. God. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent and into the tent of the two slaves women.
See how Janet said, "Oh no," so she's in the story. You know, she's thinking about the problem. The problem is, will Rachel get killed?
But he did not find them. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and put them in the camel's saddlebag, and she sat on them. So Laban searched through all the tent, but did not find them. Goodness. And she said to her father, my lord, not be...
You hear her saying, my goodness, because she's imagining the narrative like of Laban searching everywhere, but not finding them. And so the tension is building. Because if it's not in her property, in the place, it must be on her person. That's what the story is making you think about.
Angry that I cannot stand in your presence, because the way of women is upon me. So he searched but did not find the household idols. Then Jacob became angry and argued with Laban. And Jacob said to Laban, what is my offense? What is my sin? That you have hotly pursued me. Though you have searched through all my property, what have you found of all your household property? Set it here in front of my relatives and your relatives, so that they may decide between the two of us. For these 20 years I have been with you. What's ears? Your ears, is that?
No. A ewe is a female sheep or goat. Yeah, female sheep.
Female sheep. Okay, not ew. Okay. How you say that? Ewes?
Ewes.
You. Ewes? Ew. Oh, it's opposite. Ewes. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flock. I did not even bring to you that which was torn by wild animals. I took the loss myself. You demanded it for my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. This is how I was. By day, the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. For these 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my ways 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the God of fear of Isaac had not been for me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, so he rendered judgment last night. Then Laban replied to Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, the children are my grandchildren, the flocks are my flocks, and everything that you see is mine. But what can I do this day to these daughters of mine or to their children to whom they have given birth? So now come, let's make a covenant, you and I, and it shall be a witness between you and me. Then Jacob took a stone and set it up as a memorial stone. Jacob said to his relatives, gather stones. So they took stones and made a heap. What heap? And they ate there by the
A pile.
heap. Huh?
A pile.
Huh?
A pile. Okay, you don't know heap, you don't know pile. How about a hill? They made a hill of stones.
Oh, okay.
I know you know hills.
Where is it? Where am I? Okay. They took the stone and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Now Laban called it Jigar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Galid. What does Galid means? Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore it was named Galid. Laban called it, but Jacob called, Laban said, why is that Laban called Galid, which is, it is Jacob say it, and now Laban telling it, so meaning he agreed a name Galid by from Jacob. So he agreed Jacob's that the place called Galid, even though Laban called it Jigar Sahadutha. Okay, I think you don't understand my question. But Jacob called it Galid. Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore it was named
I understood her, but I just want her to do the observation, the process.
Galid. Who said? Wait. Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore it was named Galid. But it is Laban said. Anyway. And Mizpah, for he said, may the Lord keep what's between you and me when we are absent one from another. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take wives beside my daughters, although no one is with us, see, God is witness between you and me. Laban also said to Jacob, behold, this heap, and behold, the memorial stone, which I have set between you and me. This heap is a witness, and the memorial stone is a witness. Why is it repeated? This heap is a witness, and the memorial stone is a witness. That is, that I will not pass by this heap to you for harm, and you will not pass by this heap and this memorial stone to me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor and the God of their father judge between us. So Jacob swore by the fear. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice. Why is that Isaac now? What? So Jacob, I didn't understand the previous one. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his relatives to the meal. And they ate the meal and spent the night on the mountain. Then early in the morning, Laban got up and kissed his grandchildren and his daughter and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place.
Okay, so that's where the chapter ends. But is that where the story ends?
The story ends. The story ends between first Jacob fleeing, first telling about the betrayal of Laban, and it ends up with the character of Laban.
It sounds like she's saying
So
Laban.
you agree that the
That's
story
why it's
ends
saying-
at the end of chapter 31?
The story ends. I'm not sure.
Read
Because
the first verse.
Now Jacob went on his way. The angel of God met him. What is that chapter? And when he saw them, Jacob said to his gods, so named the place. What do you mean by that? No, I mean, now as Jacob went on his way, okay. Now as Jacob went on his way, the angels of God met him. And when he saw them, And when he saw them, oh, because it is angels. And when he saw them, Jacob said, "This is God's camp." So he named that place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messenger ahead of himself to his brother Esau in the land of Seir and country of Edom. He commanded them, saying, "This is what you shall say to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says the following: I have resided with Laban and stayed until now." No, this is narrative. Not it ends with Laban, but the narrative continues.
Okay.
So you're not satisfied with my answer.
So think of it like this. Are you saying Genesis 31 is one episode of Arrow?
No, I need to read all so that to understand. I don't want to assume because I forgot all
You
the
just
story.
just read Genesis 31.
Oh, the Genesis 31. If it's one episode. No, because in chapter 32, it's still the name of Laban still there. Jacob.
Right, but you notice when Arrow starts, the beginning of the next episode will tie to the previous episode. Let's say previously on Arrow.
So it ends episode with Laban on.
Okay. So with that in mind, look at this. Look at how the episode began. We'll read it.
No, Jacob heard the words of Laban's son saying, Jacob heard the words of Laban's son saying, Jacob has taken away all was our father's, and from what belonged to our father he had made all this world.
And then read the yellow.
The Lord said to Jacob.
Okay, so this is how it begins. Look at the end.
Then early in the morning Laban got up and kissed his children and his daughters and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place. So there is a reconciliation in between the end and the first and the end.
Yeah, it's like right here. You have not reconciliation, resolution.
Resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because yeah, this is so in the exposition, the characters introduced, the setting, the goals, the motivation, the stakes. In other words, what's at risk, and often it's like the status quo of the daily life of things, and then something occurs. But all right, okay, good. So now we go to the next one. Okay.
So what we are taking earlier, what we had to know.
We're trying to find the beginning and the ending of the story. Okay.
Well, that's easy if we just think the common sense. Of course, the beginning is the verse first, and the ending is the last verse. You know.
But that's assuming that the chapter divisions are right.
Huh?
That's assuming that the chapter divisions are right.
What?
That's assuming that the chapter divisions are right.
Right?
Yeah, that they're correct. Because remember, the chapter divisions didn't exist.
Okay, I have something in mind, but I cannot. But okay, let's continue.
All right, so now what I want to do. All right, close your eyes.
Yeah, close my eyes. I want to take coffee. Goodness.
All right, take coffee with your eyes closed.
Take coffee with it. I want to eat cake.
Eat with your eyes closed.
No, I can eat, but I will not look at. But I don't want to close my eyes because I cannot see the cake that I slice. How can I slice the cake if I closing my eyes? Goodness gracious! I just
Okay.
just
All right.
just let me. Don't look at the screen.
All right. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna divide this into blocks. All right.
I want to divide it to block. Okay.
So you're right. We've already found out. We found one episode, right? And so now what you're gonna do is you're gonna trace the different times the scenes change, or when things shift. You know, it could be a new character, a new place, a new something. Yeah, a block. So okay, start first.
Now Jacob heard the word of Laban. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's son saying. So that's different because the other is Jacob was taken away.
Janet, we're starting at the beginning of the book.
I know. You said that to divide it in the block.
Yes, the block is the beginning. We know that much. Now you got to find the next one.
Okay.
So you keep reading.
Okay. Now Jacob heard the word of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belongs to our fathers he had made all this well. And Jacob saw the attitude of Laban. Oh, the first is heard, and the second is saw.
No, no, that's too much detail. All right. Think of it like this. We're trying to find the scenes now. Okay.
Oh, the scenes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay. Now Jacob heard the word of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belongs to our fathers he had made all this wealth. And Jacob saw the attitude of Laban, and behold, it was not friendly towards him as it had been before. Then the Lord said, Jacob, return to the land of your fathers. There is a black there. When the 3 verse 3.
Okay. Because a new character and a new event is introduced there.
Oh, I just see now when you highlight the then. Fine. Now it makes a little bit clear. Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your father and to your relatives, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent word. Oh, there's another. Because so.
Yeah, I agree. But don't focus on the then and the so. Focus on.
I know. But this one, the event is not in the same time. The Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers, and that's the Lord. And when so Jacob sent the word and called Leah. So it's not the same time. It's a different time. So
yes,
that's different.
Yes, I agree. I'm just saying, don't merely go by now, then, and so.
No. But I'm not focusing on that. But I just noticed after I decided, because you highlighted, okay? After, not before.
Okay.
So Jacob sent word and Rachel. Rachel and Leah to his. So Jacob sent word and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field and said to them, "What?" But so Jacob sent word and called Rachel and Leah to his flock. What does that mean? To his flock. How to understand that? How to make a movie in that?
They're shepherds.
Yeah, so it says, so Jacob sent word and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field.
He's like, come over here. Yeah.
Okay.
He said, hey, Jacob wants you to come talk to him. He's out there in the field.
And said to them, I see your father's attitude, that it is not friendly towards me, as it was before. But the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to do me harm. If he said this, meaning who's he?
Laban.
Laban. Okay. Oh yeah, we're right. If he said this, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flock delivered speckled. And if he said this, the stripe shall be yours, then all the flock delivered stripe. So God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me. And it came about at that time when the flock was breeding, and I raised my eyes and saw in the dream and behold. So the 10 is a different block, as a block, because
I understand why you said that, but keep reading.
Fine. And it came about at that time when the flock was breeding that I raised my eyes and saw in a dream. Okay, I understand you. And behold, the male goats that were meeting were striped. This script continue story telling them. And the male goats that were meeting were striped, speckled, or mottled. Then the angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob. And I said, here I am. He said, now raise. Don't divide. Don't divide yet. He said, now raise your eyes and see that all the male goats that are meeting are striped, speckled, or mottled. For I have seen everything that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a memorial stone, where you made a vow to me. Now arise, leave this land, and return to the land of your birth. Rachel and Leah said to him, do we still have any share or inheritance in our father's house? We are not regarded by him as foreigners, for he has sold us. So the 14 is the black, because that one is Jacob speaking, and this time is Rachel speaking. So change speaker. And Rachel and Leah said to him, do we still have any share or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not regarded by him as foreigners? For he has sold us and has also entirely consumed our purchase price. Surely all the wealth which God has taken away from our father belongs to us and our children. Now then, do we do whatever God has told you? Then Jacob stood up and that's the another block. Then Jacob stood up and put his children and his wives on camels, and he drove away all his livestock and all his property which he had acquired, the livestock he possessed which he had acquired in Padam Aram, to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. Laban had gone to share his flock. Laban had gone to what share his flock, and Rachel
Shear
told
to,
the house.
to cut the hair, the wool of the sheep.
Again, please.
To cut the wool off the sheep.
Laban had gone
Yes.
to share
To
his
cut the
flock,
wool off the sheep.
and Rachel told the house. Oh, Laban had gone. Okay. Oh, so that's the other block, because the screen is focusing on Laban gone to the shear to his block, and then go to and then another scene, and Rachel stole the household idols. It focuses on Laban, and then another is focuses on Rachel. So another.
Okay,
block.
let me think about what you're saying.
She's right.
Huh?
I said, let me think about what you're saying. I'm gonna agree with you, because if you were making it like a movie, you would want to give this information as like background.
Or a cut scene.
And then, okay, continue.
Wait, don't scroll up. Then Jacob stood up and put his children and his wives on camels, and he drove away all his livestock and all his property with which he had acquired, the livestock he possesses which he had acquired in Padam Aram, to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. Laban had gone to share his flock. Yeah, this is a background, and and Rachel's tool. So it's a different scene.
Yeah, if you were making a movie in this section right here, or episode, you might have the screen split, and you might have Jacob traveling, right? Laban cutting the sheep, and Rachel stealing the idols, or you might have Laban leaving, and then because he's gone now Rachel steals the idols.
Yes, that's my point in 19. No, yeah, but Laban has a different scene and Rachel is a different scene. The scene is focusing on Laban going gone, and then the director said, "Oh, Rachel, you are now the actress.
Okay.
Do your job." So Rachel acting, stealing the idols because Laban is gone.
Okay.
And Jacob deceived. So that's a different. 920 is a different. Actually, Laban and Rachel is different scene, but and 20 and Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him. So it's focusing on Jacob now.
Okay, so this is what I think's going on. All of
Why
this,
that?
all of this is background information. This is the narrator describing the problem. Okay, and then so this is focusing. See, this is the narrator talking, right? But look, the action of Jacob continues here. So he fled.
With all
But
that
if
he
you
had.
wanted to, we could just do this. I mean, whichever one. It's not a big deal. You just got to make a decision.
No, because when Jacob fled, of course Rachel is with him, right? So
Where do you want to make the division?
wait. And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. So he fled with all that he had, and he got up and crossed the Euphrates River and set out for the hill country of Gilead. When Laban saw the 22. Yeah, because that's the background narrative, as what you said. Was informed in the third day that Jacob had fled. He took his kinsmen with him and pursued him a distance of 7 days' journey, and he overlooked him in the hill country of Gilead. However, that's another block. However, God came to Laban, the Aramean, in a dream. No, wait. When Laban was informed on the third day that Jacob had fled, he took his kinsmen with him and pursued him a distance of 7 days' journey, and he overlooked him in the hill of country of Gilead. However, God came to Laban, Aramean. I think the same scene, but in the nighttime. But it's the same on Laban, so it's not a block, but it's different.
It's the same emphasis of character, even though it's a different event.
Yes, because one is a dream and one is
Action.
action to search Jacob.
Mhm.
So at night and said to him, "Be careful that you do not speak to Jacob, neither good or bad." And Laban caught up. So 25 is a different scene.
Mhm.
The scene is he saw Jacob, and Laban caught up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsmen camped in the hill country of Gilead. Then Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done.
Now you see this now, Jacob. This is
Yeah.
This is background.
Then Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done by deceiving me and carrying away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me, and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with joy and with song, with tambourines and with lyre, and did not allow me to kiss my children and my daughters? No, you have done foolishly. It is my power to do you harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Be careful. Be- yeah, it's another, but no, it's a narrative. So it's be careful not to speak either good or bad to Jacob. Now you have indeed gone away because you long greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? Then Jacob replied, that's different. It's turned to Jacob speaking. Then Jacob replied to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force.
As I'm looking at this, I would do it differently. And I don't remember how I did it there, but what I would do is, of course, this is not going to be accurate, but if I'm thinking of this as a scene, right? You got fields, scenes that occur in the fields. You got scenes that occur on the road, right? You got a scene that occurs in the house also when Rachel does what she does. This confrontation occurs on the road. Then he searches the house for the idol, and then Rachel says she's on her period, and then you have a discussion. Between them, they both make a vow, and they depart. So you might say the field stuff before he left Laban, that's one scene. Then the road confrontation is another scene. But the road confrontation has cut scenes in it where, like, the house, the confrontation of Rachel, the discussion, and then the departing. So that's how I would look at it now this time. There's a way to turn all that off at once. I don't remember what it is, but let me just... Anyway.
One with whom you find your God shall not live. Oh, so how about that? The narratives have different events, a different story. How is that? How it's divided?
If Jacob is still talking, it's one conversation and therefore one event.
Okay. The one with whom you find your God shall not live in the presence of our relatives. Point out what is yours among my belongings and take it for yourself.
So it's one discourse, the discussion thing.
Oh no. Rachel is dangerous. Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban, okay, 33. So Laban went into Jacob's tent.
But look, this is background. And that's not Jacob talking.
That's the narrator.
Now Jacob did not know. Oh, that's a background. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent and into the tent of the two slaves women, but he did not find them. Then he went out to Leah's tent and entered Leah's tent and Rachel and taken. And now Rachel, it's another 34. Now Rachel had taken the household idols to put him. So another sin.
I think
Now-
so. I mean, I could see. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but it could be. Yeah, it's how do you say that?
It's very close connected. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and put them in the camel's saddlebag, and she sat on them. So this is the continuation of what Laban in the 33. So Laban searched through all the tent but did not find them. And she said to her father, and
So-
she, meaning
So you're saying it's
continuation with the 33. Or background? No. I think
well, the continuation works good. It's called resumption. So what happens is this: it's like you'll have the mainline narrative talk about what's going on, and then it'll get background, and then you'll have a soul, and then it'll resume the action.
yeah, resuming that. And she said to her father, My lord, not be angry that I cannot stand in your presence, because the way of women is upon me. So he searched, but not didn't find the household. Then Jacob became angry. So that's different because it's focused on Jacob.
Yes, but also right here.
Same events, the same events, but the focus of the camera
Same
is not,
setting.
is on
Yeah.
Jacob now.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. You can have the same scene, but you can have the camera zoom in, and so yeah.
Oh, thanks to me. Joke.
Okay, 36.
Then Jacob became angry and argued with Laban. Then Jacob became angry and argued with Laban. And Jacob said to Laban, "What is my offense?" Ah, because Jacob already know that Rachel is the one who took the idols. That's why. No, right? It's not yet, right? Okay. Then Jacob became angry. Oh, this is a continuation. When Laban said earlier, it says, "I can, if you just tell me, you have I can kiss my daughters, my granddaughters." Anyway, then Jacob became angry and argued with Laban. And Jacob said to Laban, "What is my offense? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Though you have searched through all my property, what have you found of your household property? Set it here in front of my relatives and your relatives, so that they may decide between the two of us. For these 20 years I have been with you. You use, you, how do you
Your
say that?
ewes,
Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flock. I did not even bring to you that which was torn by wild animals. I took the loss myself. You demanded it of my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. This is how I was. Oh, yeah, but okay. Yeah, it's negative. This is how I was. He just explained the what really happened to him, that misunderstood with Laban, of what the hardship of his work, so that Laban just flourished. So he described, or he telling the truth, what his situation during that time. This is how I was. By day, the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. For these 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters. Yeah, 5. And 6 years for your flock. And you changed my wages 10 times. If God of my father, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac had not been with me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, so he rendered judgment last night. Then Laban replied to Jacob. So that's another, yeah, the camera focusing on Laban now. Though it's the same events. Right? At the same time. Then Laban replied to Jacob, "My daughters are my daughters, the children are my grandchildren, the flocks are my flocks, and everything that you see is mine. But what can I do? This day to these daughters of mine, or to their children to whom they have given birth? So now come, let's make a covenant, you and I, and it shall be witness between you and me." So then Jacob, yeah, that's a different, how you call that? Block.
Mhm.
Mhm. Then Jacob took a stone and set up as a memorial stone. Jacob said to his relatives, "Gather stone." So they took stone. What? I don't understand. Then Jacob took a stone. Okay, one stone. Stone. So one stone and set it up. So this is the stone. And set it up as a memorial stone. Jacob said to his relatives, "Gather stone." Oh, so they have their own stone. So they took stones and made a heap. And they ate. Oh, okay. Okay. So they make like a table. Seems like table. No, anyway. No, it's not. So they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Oh, by the heap, not on the heap. Now, Laban called it Jigar. So it is narrative. How is the background? So how you say that? And now. Called it Jigar Sahaduta, but Jacob called it Gilead. Laban said, "This heap is witness before you and me this day." Therefore, it was named Galid. See, this is the one that I was confusing. So meaning Laban agreed to call it Galid instead of Jigar Sahaduta, right? "This heap is witness between you and me this day. Therefore, it was named Galid. And Mizpah, for he said," who's Mizpah? Galid and Mizpah? What Mizpah? What is that?
It's a word. Keep going.
I know that's a word, but it says, therefore, it was named Galid and Mizpah. Why it's Galid? Galid
It's a
for
good. It's a good question, but it's not part of what we're doing right now. That's a different step.
But that's why I said, what is Mizpah?
It's a word. Keep going.
Attorney, if you can't answer me, please just say, okay, just go on. I cannot answer you that for this time because I cannot see it for now.
I cannot answer for this time. Continue.
For he said, may the Lord... See, it was confusing, Charlie. Laban called Jigar Sahaduta, but Jacob called Galid. But this is the thing. Therefore, it was named Galid and Mizpah. That's why I ask you a question, why it says Mizpah instead of Gijar Hatuta.
And it's a good question, but it doesn't relate to making blocks.
I know, but that's why I'm just telling you. I'm just asking you. Oh, is your Nana is already there? Not yet. Okay. So tell that to others, who is Mizpah? And for he said, may the Lord keep what's between you and me when we are absent one from another. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take wives beside my daughters, although no one is with us. See, God is witness between you and me. Laban also said to Jacob, continuing narratives, behold this heap, and behold the memorial stone which I have set. What? Laban also said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold the memorial stone which I have set with you and me, which I have. It says earlier that Jacob took a stone and set it up a memorial stone, and Jacob said to relatives, but why then in this it says Laban?
That's a good observation, but it's not about blocking. Continue, please.
You're so mean. Why you just help? Why? Why is that so confused?
Continue, Jenny.
Instead, you are just laughing at me or smiling at me. Fine, whatever. But you have many explanations to this, okay? Later. Laban also said, Laban also said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold this memorial which I have set between you and me. He's not the one who took the stone first. It's Jacob. Jacob took a stone and set it up as a memorial stone. And why then suddenly Laban said, I have set between you and me.
Are you sure you're not a lawyer?
I'm sure I am not a lawyer. Why is that connected? Why you say that? We asked that
Because you're
question.
trying to accuse Laban of lying. Continue.
No. I'm not accusing Laban a liar. I am accusing Laban still grabbing what Jacob has. Okay, that's his nature. Before everything. What is that?
I believe your observation is correct, but it's not about blocking. Keep going.
So, then, I have many questions in the passage, but that's not the part. That's not what we are doing. We are doing different thing. But while I am reading it, I am fighting the verse because if you understand what you're reading and you know hermeneutics way to understand, you have many things that need to be corrected. But it doesn't mean you correct God's word because it's God's word. So you are the one need to understand and what. So Laban also said, Jacob, behold this heap, blah, blah, blah. I said, and this heap is witness. Wait, blah, blah, blah. Laban also said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold the memorial stone which I have set between you and me. So I think there is a stone, Jacob, called Gilead. And this is a stone from Laban. So there is a stone for Jacob and a stone for Laban. That's my assumption for this time. So this heap is a witness, and the memorial stone is. Oh, see, yeah, there is a stone that Jacob, it says in verse 45, took a stone. Okay, I know that we are doing blocking, okay, but please be with me for this time. 45, Jacob said, I saw a stone. So this is the stone. But Jacob said to his relatives, gather stone and took stones and made a heap. So there is the stone. And there is the heap that gathers, but the stone with Jacob is different. It's not including the stone that the relatives made, because these stones they gathered is made a heap. But the stone in 45, that's Jacob. So the heap is for Laban. The stone that Laban's gathered, because the relatives is Laban's relatives, is Laban's, daughters, children, grandchildren. So that's Laban's. So that's why this stone with Jacob's memorial called Galid, but this one called is Mizpah. The Galid called Mizpah. Sorry, I'm assuming for this time. Not done yet, but I will continue reading. This heap is a witness, and the memorial stone is a witness that I will not. Who's talking? Wait, who's talking? Okay. Laban also said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold the memorial stone See, the memorial stone is different and the heap is different because this is as an end, okay, the end. Stone which I have set between you and me. This heap, the heap that gathered the stone together, and the memorial stone which is from Jacob, that's his memorial stone, called the lid, is a witness that I will not pass by this heap, the stones gathered, to you to harm, and you will not pass by this heap and this memorial stone to me for harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judged between us. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. So it's so Jacob swore. Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice. So that's different. Sin. The sword and gathered, offered, the sword and offered is different thing. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his relatives to the meal, and they ate the meal and spent the night on the mountain. Then early in the morning, it's another block. Early in the morning, Laban got up and kissed his children and his daughters and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place. Yay, I'm done.
Okay. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to put the locations in.
Location, okay.
So we can see the blocks a little bit better, okay?
Okay.
So
Location.
let's just call this, because we don't know the exact location, let's call this Jacob.
Yay! Dalawa yan, diba? Dalawa? Yay!
Jacob hanging, no, not hanging out. Jacob out somewhere. Here's threats.
What
Here.
is?
Here's
I misspelled here's.
Anong klaseng chocolate ito? Yung saan ito
That's one.
nabili?
something like this. Okay. So Jacob's out somewhere, and here's
No. My computer is. Go back. Go back. Huh? Oh, nga. Naiwan ko. Wait. Yes. 6:15. Ano oras na? 6:15? Yes. Okay. Kasi babiyahe mo rin, di ba? So, Angel will go. Angel will. Angel. Yeah. Angel. 7 minutes. Maybe 7 minutes. So, shall we? Post this first, and we'll. Shall we post?
if you just help me find the location, we'll be done in 1 minute.
Okay. 1 minute. Location.
All right. Jacob is somewhere. Jacob's talking to his wives in the field, right?
Okay.
All right. Jacob begins traveling.
Jacob stood up and put children. Yeah. Jacob. Oh, that's the way you say. Okay.
Okay. All right. Laban begins traveling. Okay.
Pinano ko siya sa kawali. Tumigas.
Jacob and Laban encounter each other.
Yeah. If you know how to do this is a seminary work sa kanya paper siya. Is this your seminary work?
Yes, it's going to be for a paper I'm writing.
Kung alam ba ang dami mo makikita. Ang dami mo talagang makikita. Naiintindihan. Hindi siya naglalagay ng subtitle. Kumbaga, nilalagyan niya kung saang location. Yung narrative yun.
And I guess I would say here,
Ano nangyayari?
they make a covenant on the mountain.
I just know this time, hindi ko yun alam kanina, hindi ko siya naintindihan, pero in-ignore ko yun kasi kung mag-stuck ka doon, hindi mo naintindihan, hindi ka makamove on. So I just follow his instruction at iniintindi ko yung instruction niya. Then, doon ko na kaya pala. So, the rest noon, naging alam.
So, parang yung sa text.
Instruction. Yung
Okay.
how, why, pero kasi hindi ko siya maintindihan kung ano yung gusto niyang i-ano sa akin. Nag-follow lang ako sa sinabi niya. Tapos nag-follow ako sa sinabi niya kung ano dapat kung bumalik na ako dito. Tapos winort out niya, nakikita ko, nagkaroon ako ng idea kung paano. So later on, nag-gets ko na. Kung ngayon ko lang siya nalala.
I'm gonna post this video, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
All right. It's all right. I think it turned out well, even though you're so rambunctious. But
Okay.
all right, so tell the viewers out there what they can do if they like this video. That you didn't know we were posting.
I'm eating. Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm not. We are not. We really didn't plan to post this video, but just in case my husband will post it.
Well, it turned out okay. So anyway, we'll close. All right. If y'all been blessed by the content of this video, subscribe, hit the bell if you want notifications, give us a thumbs up, share this with others, and most of all, keep this ministry in prayer. God bless.
Okay, so let me see if I can find the other one. Narrative. I'm thinking it's this one.
Welcome to the Layman Seminary, or this episode.
And pray also to the listener.
My book. So that we're doing. Okay, the first thing you want to. So let's put our passage in here. I mean, footnotes are okay, but
Arise. Let
who? What's the reason why they make the altar?
arise. There.
Yes,
So and shall touch him.
That's a good one, but it's not the narrative thing. I mean, of course, it relates to it. Let me see if I can find one. Like I said, guys, we got tons of stuff. I wish there was a way to turn off the shorts. Be easier to see things. Okay, this is it.
Welcome to the Layman Seminary. Jenna and I are going to be continuing our Bible narrative study of the Bible. I got to figure out a better name to say that. Narrative Bible study. And so we're just going to do a little bit of review, and then we're going to get into it. We prayed before we began, so we're ready to roll. All right. Janet, the first 3 steps that we're dealing with is the first thing you do when you come to a narrative, a story, is you find the beginning and the ending of the story. Remember that?
Yes.
Then we divide it into block scenes, right? Like pretend like you're making a movie, a screenplay, something like that. And then you want to take a scene summary. This is like, we have a lot of videos doing whenever we do the descriptive summaries, and it's sort of like that, except you're putting them on the plot line. All right. And we'll talk about the plot line in a minute. Okay. So the first step is read until you find the beginning and the ending. Okay. And here's an example of the basic plot structure: the exposition, rise in action, climax, fall in action, and then the conclusion, resolution or whatever. You can find these all over the place. There's lots of stuff online, YouTube and all of that, where you can learn about this. These questions can be used to make your descriptive summaries a little bit more detailed, which we may do later on. But you can find this stuff all over the internet, so it's nothing new in that sense. Okay. Last time we were in Genesis 31, and last time I told you to look at how Genesis 31 begins and how Genesis 31 ends. At that time, it begins with Jacob being aware of a concern that he's going to lose his basically the good favor that he has with Laban's sons, if he ever had good favor in the sense of the word. And then the Lord reveals something to him. The way it concludes is after what's his name chases him down, they almost get into a conflict, you know, and then they say the God of Father judge between us, and then they separate. So that's the beginning and ending of the Genesis 31 story. Okay. Now the block scenes are, hey Janet, you can talk. This is not like a late at night Filipino Bible study where Jane tells y'all stories, so y'all and don't talk. You know,
No,
that has a purpose, but that's not what this purpose is. That's good because y'all are not able to talk at night because of your employer. But you're at church right now at the CG or whatever, and so or CC, so you can talk. So just don't sit there being passive, all right?
Okay, but I was listening.
Okay, I understand you were listening, but I want you to be participating. All right?
Yeah, sure.
I
Yeah,
I don't want you to be passive. My voice is boring, but yours is not. So you block the scenes out. Once you have the head and the tail, in other words, the beginning, you divide the whole. Now, you could look at this and you could say, wow, the first part of this chapter talks a lot about Jacob, and the second part talks a lot about Laban. And you can say
So
he's
does that mean that they are that talk about more on that person that makes him an actor or the main actor?
well, the main actor is the one that's doing the main action, most of the action and most of the talking in general.
Okay.
But this is too much of an overgeneralization. This is not accurate enough. But whenever you come to a passage, you might think, who's the main actor? You know, and there'll be a time whenever we go into detail about the different characters later on. But this gives you an idea of a division. Okay, I don't recommend this division, but it was one that I came to early on. Now, I wrote descriptive summaries, and the reason being is because when I started this lesson, before I met with you that time, I was tired because I had worked all night. I mean, yeah, all day, and then I got home late at night, and so I'm like, well, I'll just read it, divide it up, and make it into descriptive summaries. Okay. So I did this before I ever divided it up into block scenes, at least in the way that this system shows you. But go ahead, read this first block scene.
Jacob notices how Laban and his sons despise him before the Lord gives revelation to return home. So Jacob lays his case before his household.
Okay. And I still think that's a pretty good summary of that first section. Okay. Now do the next one.
Jacob's wife agrees that Laban
it's actually wives, but I think it messed up. Go ahead.
Jacob's wife or wives agrees that Laban is unjust, especially for consuming their dowry.
Dowry.
What's dowry?
And I don't know if that's the right word. Dowry is basically money that is paid to a parent in order to marry a daughter. Or it's no, I'm sorry. It's not, if I remember right, I think it's paid to the woman you marry, and that way she's provided for. I can't remember.
Okay, I think I got you.
All right.
So she submits to God.
Yeah.
Then Jacob and his household departs, but Rachel crosses a line. Also, Jacob was deceptive.
Right. I misspelled Rachel, but Rachel steals the idols, and the text mentions Jacob being deceptive. Okay.
Okay. Laban in verse 22 to 24. Laban find out that they left, so he chased him down. But God appeared to Laban in a dream and told him to watch what he says. 25. So that's an observation, right? Descriptive summary.
Yes. Yeah. It's your initial impressions of the text. Yes.
Okay. So verse 25 to 30. When Laban catches him, he brings his grievances before Jacob. Jacob gives his reason for leaving, but thought Laban was lying about the idols. Rachel deceives just like her father. Rachel deceives just like your father?
She's the one that stole the idols and hid them and used and uses the, hey, I'm on my period, so I can't get up, so you can't search my animal, that type of thing.
Oh yeah. So, but like father, like daughter. Jacob thinks, verse 36 to 42, Jacob thinks he has righteous indignation, and he claims he was just in their dealings, and credits gods with his prosperity that countered Laban's schemes. Laban still viewed everything Jacob had as his, but felt powerless. So he, makes a covenant.
It's supposed to be makes a covenant.
Bates?
Makes
A covenant, restraining order based on Abrahamic covenant.
I'm just putting things in my language, that it's just descriptive summaries. Yeah. Like I said, I was tired, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in here and just summarize this story, the scenes. Okay, go ahead.
To the viewers, don't mind the spelling, okay? He's tired when doing this screenshot. Okay. Jacob emphasized the covenant being with Isaac and him before they ate, sleep, and said their goodbyes. I told you guys, don't mind the spelling. Okay. Mind the words.
You don't got to point that out every time you come to one also. Okay, so this is what we were talking about earlier. He would say that you're going to take your descriptive summary and you're going to shorten that down so you have a few words that describe the scene. And then you would decide where it goes on the plot line, okay? And remember, the story that we're doing is not in his book. And there's many books about this, but the story's not in this book. We're using the steps, the method on the passage that we're looking at, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here's one I drew.
Concern, command, committee.
Don't look at those words. Look at the green first.
Okay.
You have your exposition. In other words, you're setting how things begin. Then you have your rise in action. Then you have your climax, your fall in action, and then your conclusion. So it's pretty much like a triangle, right? Now, sometimes there's hills and all of that, ups and downs and all this, but this is just simple. Now, I later came and I came up with all C's, all right? But that was after studying with you and doing some other stuff. You don't have to come up with all C's, but the idea is that you come up with a word, a concept that summarizes what you think these things are. And so I'm saying 31, 1 through 16. Go ahead, Janet, read.
Concern, command, committee.
Right. So Jacob is concerned about Laban's sons not liking him and Laban not liking him. So the Lord gives a command, and then Jacob calls a committee with his wives to talk to them. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now read the rise in action.
Complication, stall, deceit, character, chase.
All right. So what complicates things is that when they're leaving, Rachel steals the idols, and it says that Jacob deceived Laban by not telling him he was leaving. And so this relates to their character, but it also sets up the chase where Laban chases after them because they took as idols. Okay, now read the climax. Contraband.
Contraband not found. What that means? Contraband not found.
Contraband is anything you're not supposed to have. So she was not supposed to have the idol, so it's called contraband.
Oh, so that's the climax over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then for the fall in action, compromise, Laban and Jacob are trying to come to a compromise, and then they end up finding a contract, And then the conclusion is they formed a covenant already. Well, that's the contract. And then they go their separate ways. Okay?
Okay.
Now, what I did also, this is probably better to do instead of the descriptive summary at the very beginning, is you know how we divided things up last time in the last video, Janet, we did last week, where the scene is changing, Remember that? Well, this is sort of like this, except you're just going through and you're saying scene 1. Go ahead, read the first scene.
Laban and sons are bitter.
Okay, and that relates to the concerned word, right? All right, next.
Scene 2, the Lord commands Jacob to return to the promised land.
So that relates to command.
It's the same as earlier that I read. It's just emphasizing the exposition.
Well, what this shows is that the scenes, scene 1, I would divide things up into the scenes, describing the scene, right? And then what's going on, and all of that. And yeah, then you would look at the location. Like this is in the field, and this occurs at the exposition. In other words, at the beginning of the story. Okay. Now here he's on the road. All right. Here he's at Laban's house, and there's a flashback involved here. And so yeah, then you switch to rise in action. Then you have them on the road again. They're traveling. Then they're in each other's face when they meet up, and then he's going through the tents. Then he goes in front of Rachel, and this is the climax. And then it flashes back to the past. And then you have on the mountain, right? And then on the road again. So where you make those divisions, where you're dividing them up like we were doing, you would make a summary, scene 1, and then write out your summary. So yeah, glad you caught on this. This is an outline I made. The font is real bad because this is a screenshot, and I don't expect anybody to read this, but I just want to show y'all some of the things you can do. Like here's the green is my descriptive summary. The pink are those words that I was using earlier, and these right here, Jacob out somewhere, here's danger in God's word. That is my first scene description, and this is where they're shifting and people talking. So you can get a little bit more elaborate with that if you wanted to. You don't have, huh?
Seems like you're the outline, the subtitle, and subpoint.
Yes, it is an outline. So that's one way you could do it, and this will be used at a later time. But the reason I did it this way is because I was like, I want to make sure that I boil down all the information into a scene, and so that's where I went there. Now I know this can't be read either, but basically, if you wanted to take your descriptive summaries and ask these questions: how does the story open? How are the characters introduced? What is the setting? You could answer all those questions, sort of like interpret questions, Janet, and then go back in and rewrite your descriptive summary to include all that information if you want, and you would get something more in detail. And we may do that at a later point, and you do that for all the steps, okay? But today, the main exercise that we're going to be doing is we're going to be placing the unit in context. So we're going to, the passage that we were in last time was Genesis 31. Well, today we're going to look at Genesis 30, and we're going to look at Genesis 32, and we're going to be asking, how do they relate to each other, okay? And what occurs before, after, what is the date, time, place, that type of thing. All right, so let me just stop right here and switch to this. So you can see my document here. There's our 14 steps. All right, there's that. That's the thing I was just showing you. Here's the outline. Okay, this is a chart I made, and I'll show you this chart in a minute. But you see I have Genesis 30 and 1, 31 and 32. And then I have different elements that I saw, that I made. But that's not how I originally began. Also from this chart, I made some summaries about things that are involved. But you know what, Janet? You're the star of this show, or this episode, however you want to do it.
I'm the star.
Since you're the star, you're going to be doing the passage. And we're going to see how well you do. Yeah, you're the main actor. I'm just a narrator. All right, let me close down the Greek from when I was teaching Greek and Hebrew last night. So let me close that. Okay, go back to Genesis 30. Okay, so this is what you're going to be thinking about, Janet, as you're reading 30. You're going to be thinking about what are the similarities between Genesis 31, the story that we studied last time, and that we just reviewed, and this chapter right here. In other words, how does Genesis 30 prepare us for understanding Genesis 31? Okay, and also what common themes you see, motifs, as some people call them. All right, so go ahead, start reading at verse 1.
Now, when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she became jealous to her sister, and she said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I die." Oh no! Then Jacob's anger. Seems like Rachel have character with Laban. Like grabbing, forcing Jacob to do something. It
Okay.
seems like Laban also forcing Jacob to do something by keeping,
So your initial impression is that you think maybe Rachel is acting like Laban, that she's a manipulator.
characteristic like her father.
Okay. All right.
Then Jacob's anger burned against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of God who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" She said, "Here is my maid Bella. Go in to her, that she may bear on my knees, that through her I too may have children." But it seems like, uh, like, like, like Abraham or Moses.
Abraham.
Abraham, right? With Sarah and her
Hagar. Yes.
and
Yeah.
Hagar. Yeah. So it seems like that. And she said, "Here is my maid Bilda. Go in to her, that she may bear on my knees, that through her I too may have children." So she gave him her maid Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went into her. Why is this like Abraham? Really? Bilhah conceived.
Well, you got to remember that this is part of the overall narrative. And remember, God is called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So you see that just as God has been faithful to his covenant promises, first given to Abraham and then passed on to his descendants, also there are times whenever they commit similar type sins or they run into similar type problems.
Yeah, it seems like because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the one family, and it seems like go down to the lineage line,
Yeah.
line 8.
Well, Isaac
So
only
people
had
break that.
Isaac only had one wife, Rebecca.
Huh?
Isaac only had one wife, Rebecca.
Oh, so it ends with Isaac.
With the one wife part, yeah. Jacob has.
Yeah, it's break there.
Okay.
So she gave him her maid Bilhah as wife, and Jacob went into her. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me, and has indeed heard my voice, and has given me a son." Therefore she named him Dan. Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son.
This
So
is Bilhah.
Bilhah, what did I say?
Bilhah.
Oh, Bilhah. Oh, yeah. Conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. So Rachel said, "With mighty wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and I have indeed prevailed." What I am looking here? What did you say earlier? The end?
You're looking
the
for how does this chapter prepare us for understanding the chapter we studied last week? What is the connection between the two?
Excuse me. And she named him Naphtali. Then Leah saw that she had stopped bearing. She took her maid Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah made Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "How fortunate!" So she named him Gad. Leah made Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, "Happy am I, for
Hey, Whiskey 49, God bless you too.
women will call me happy." So she named him Asher. Now, in the days of wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Is it a small matter for you to take my husband, and would you take my son's mandrakes also?" So Rachel said, "Therefore he may lie with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes." Oh, that's the first I saw that it seems like a deceitful of like what Laban doing to when Jacob want to marry Rachel, but Laban gave Leah instead. So it seems like in what happening with the Leah sister and Leah and Rachel, it seems like they are doing the same pattern with Laban, during like, "Okay, I will give you Rachel, and then serve this. I will do." Then Jacob doing that, and then he didn't give Rachel, he said Leah, right? And then another 7 years. So it seems like the two sisters doing the same as what their father did.
Okay.
Them.
All right.
For now. And then Jacob came in from the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he lay with her that night. God gave heed to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Then Leah said, "God has given me my wages, because I gave my maid to my husband." So she named him Issachar. Leah conceived again
Oops.
Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son to Jacob. Why is Leah instead anyway, fine, but anyway. Then Leah said, God has endowed me with a good gift. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have bore him six sons. So she named him Zebulun. After she bore a daughter and named her Dinah, then God remembered Rachel, and God gave heed to her and opened her womb. So she conceived and bore a son and said, God has taken away my reproach. She named him Joseph, saying, May the Lord give me another son. Now it came about when Rachel had bore Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, Send me away that I may go to my own place and to my own country. So what? Now it come about when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, Send me away that I may go to my own place and to my own country. So is this mean that Laban is living with them
Laban
while
is,
all these things happen, or they go back to Laban's place instead of Jacob going to his place?
okay, remember this, that 31 hasn't happened yet. So Jacob has not left Laban. Okay.
Huh? What? Oh, we are on 30.
Yes, we're not after 31. But to answer your question, remember who Laban is. Laban is Rebecca's brother. In other words, he's his uncle. Okay,
Laban is Rebecca's.
brother. So Laban is Jacob's uncle.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Okay,
Then,
Rachel and Leah are his cousins.
yes.
All right. So the way it worked is that he went to Laban, right? And Laban is viewed as a patriarch. So even though Jacob was living there with Rachel and all of them, Laban still had control over everything, because whoever the patriarch is, that's who has the control mainly. It's not like you're living. It's not like you're independent, you know. So this idea that in Genesis where it says two shall leave their parents and cling to each other and become one flesh, the reality is that usually they would move next door to their parents.
Oh, that's what they are.
They didn't move far away, you know.
Okay.
And there's a TV show nowadays. I mean, it's not on anymore. It's a comedy show called Everyone Loves Raymond. You ever seen that?
No.
Everyone Loves Raymond is the mother, and the mother lives next door. So she's always over there causing problems, you know, the bad stereotypical mother, you know, she don't want to let go of Raymond because that's her boy and all of that stuff. So when I read some of these stories, it kind of reminds me of that, because nowadays it's like, no, you need to separate from your family, you know. But
Yeah, but in the Philippines, you know,
you have multiple generations.
yeah, we love our mothers, love to stay at home with the husband, you know.
Yeah.
We're taking care of them.
So yeah, you have more than one generation living in the same area at least, if not the same house. But anyway,
So,
they're very prosperous people for that time. Okay, go ahead.
give me my wives. This is 30, right?
Yes, it's 30.
And then that was 31 that we read before. But how this could be seems like before, and the 31 is the what? I'm confused.
Okay, how does 31 start?
This one is 31, right?
No,
I
it's
said,
30.
so it seems like the 31 is 30. It should be 30, and the 31 is the 30. It should be 31, because why it is like she have already children and want to go to their own land. The 30.
Well, the difference is, Janet, is after Joseph's born, Jacob wants to separate from Laban. He wants to leave and go back to the land. You know,
Oh.
He wants to leave. But
yeah.
But in 31, the reason Jacob leaves is because of Laban's sons. So we're going to see in a minute how Laban says something or does something or strikes an agreement with him that makes Jacob stay. Okay, so all right, here, keep reading.
Oh gosh, why it seems like it's anyway. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me. Okay, seems I got it now. Let depart, for you yourself know my service which I have rendered you. But Laban said to him, If now it pleases you, stay with me. I have divined that the Lord has blessed me on your account.
Well,
He continued, Name me your wages, and I will give it. But he said to him, You yourself know how I have served you, and how your cattle have fared with me, for you had little before I came, and it has increased to a multitude, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I turn. But now, when shall I provide for my own household also? So he said, What shall I give you? Or what shall I give you? And Jacob said, and Jacob said, You shall not give me anything. If you will do this one thing for me, I will again pastor and keep your flock. Let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from there every speckled and spotted sheep and every one black one among the lambs, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages. Oh, so it's like U-turn, you know. It's like U-turn. You know what I mean? U-turn. Before Jacob is trying to make all those goat not spotted so that it be with him, right? But now he want to be opposite now, to put back, to give to Laban.
Well, that hasn't
So-
happened yet. It's true that God's blessing him with the cattle and all of that, and Jacob learned through innovation. In other words, a pagan practice, probably, that God was blessing him supposedly, and so he's like, Jacob saying, "Look, I'll give you all the good stuff, and you give me all the bad stuff." You know, I mean, that's almost what it sounds like. All the ones that are speckled and spotted. So he's saying, I'll give you all the pure colored ones, basically, and you give me all the ones with spots and all of that stuff.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's opposite. Before, it's the spotted is for, because that's what Laban chooses to have spotted, right?
That hasn't happened yet.
I'm
You're
sorry, guys.
right. It talks about it in Genesis 31, but that's a flashback. Okay.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from there.
You've already read
That's
that.
the that's the problem when you read this, the before passage, when you read a book before, and then you go back, it seems like this is like, what, where am I now,
Well, I mean,
Because
ideally,
you already have an idea that this happened, and then I turn into, like you said, it's not happened yet, and then, okay, I am in the 30.
ideally, a pastor would teach through, a pastor or teacher or Sunday school leader or whatever would teach through the book in order, right?
I know.
And they would do it in that order. But if you let's say like me, I did Genesis 15, right? So I had to drop people down into that part of the book and give them enough information where they could get the story, but at the same time can't tell them everything about the book. And so whenever you do it this way, whenever you say, okay, I'm studying Genesis 31, but I need to understand Genesis 30 and 33 a little bit, just have a feel for it so I can see the possible connections to help me understand Genesis 31. It's helpful. So that the struggle that you're having is what you're supposed to be doing, because what's happening is you're remembering stuff you read, and you're like, I've read this before. And you're like, it's already happened. It hasn't already happened in the storyline, but you've already read the future. You know what I mean? It's like you know the future.
Yeah, I know. That's why. Yeah, that's why I said, oh, it doesn't happen. But because I wasn't aware that I already read the chapter before this. So it makes me confused that I know already what's going to happen in the future while reading this.
Okay, keep going.
Why is that? What's the meaning of this? Why we are doing this?
To understand how Genesis 31 functions. The context of Genesis 30 and Genesis 33 help us better understand the purpose for Genesis 31.
Okay, let me continue until the end. So my honestly will answer for me later. When you come concerning my wages, who said this? What?
Jacob is saying that.
Jacob is saying, everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the lambs, if found with me, will be considered stolen. Laban said, good, let it be according to your word.
Okay.
So he removed on that day the striped and spotted male goat and all the speckled and spotted female goats, everyone with white in it, and all the black ones among the sheep, and gave them into the care of his sons. And he put a distance of 3 days journey between himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flock. Then Jacob took a fresh rods of poplar, I don't know what this means, and almond and plane trees, and peeled white stripes in them, exposing the white which was in the rod. He didn't correct me. He set the rods which he had peeled in front of the flock in the gutters, even in the watering. What's that? Troughs,
Yes.
where the flocks came to drink, and they mated when they come to drink. So the flocks mated by the rods, and the flock brought forth stripes speckled. Is this true? If
It's in the
even though-
Bible, but you're wondering, can you do that? Yeah. All right, keep reading.
Jacob separated the lambs and made the flocks face towards the stripe and all the black in the flock of Laban, and he put his own herds apart and did not put them with Laban's flock. Moreover, whenever the stronger of the flock were mating, Jacob would place the rod in the side of the flock in the gutters so that they might mate by the rods. But when the flock was feeble, he did not put them in. So the feebler were Laban's and the stronger Jacob's. That's why maybe Laban noticed this. That's why he said that too. You think so? Or you know what I'm trying to say? No?
Yes, I know what you're trying to say.
So the men became exceedingly prosperous and had large flocks and female and male servants and camels and donkeys. Now, Jacob heard the words of Laban's son saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belonged to our father, he has made all this wealth. Jacob saw the attitude of Laban, and behold, it was not friendly towards him as formerly. Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. So 30 is already, Jacob already said that, right? No? Oh, we are reading this earlier. See, I'm confused now. Where did I read?
We read this last week. This is 31, Janet. We're in 31 now.
Earlier,
we just finished 30.
Yeah, so earlier we didn't read. So I read.
What made you say you read this earlier?
Then the Lord said to return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. There's something this is in verse 30. No, it's not.
Let's go look.
What? Wait. The son. Raise your. Okay. All about the sons, and okay. About.
All about the sons, as you said, right? And then all about the animals. That's it.
Yeah, God. What? Oh, so there's not. Oh, so God didn't say that.
He said it, but not in the story you're thinking of. You're thinking about Genesis 28. Go ahead, read that. 28:1.
So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, you shall not take away from daughter Canaan, also rise and blah blah blah. Make it Almighty arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethel, your mother's father, and from no. See, I'm confused. If going this and
okay.
this.
Let me show you. I got a chart that will help you with that, but I want to show you something. So Isaac says this: May God Almighty bless you, make you fruitful, multiply, company of people. And it said, may He give you the blessing of your Abraham and all the land, right? So Isaac sends him away. Okay. Now read here. Start reading at 10.
And Jacob departed from Beersheba, went towards Haran. He came to a certain place and spent the night there, because the sun had set, and he took one of the stones and put it under his head. And down in that place he had a dream. And behold, a ladder set on the earth with its top reached into heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give it to you and to your descendants. Your descendants will also be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, and to the north and to the south. And in you and in your descendants shall all the families of the earth be blessed. I thought he promised that to Abraham. And
he did.
Also to
he did. Each one of the theocratic administrators, the big word for it, the inheritors, is given that promise.
So there is.
And the promise goes in more detail. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yes.
So is this the same promise that God gave to Abraham, his descendant?
Yes, it's in more detail. Yes.
And the descendant is Isaac and his clan, and Isaac, Jacob, his clan. So from the beginning, down to
Okay, now read this.
Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. He was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up as a pillar, and poured oil on its top. He called the name of that place Bethel. However, previously the name of the city had been Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me on this journey and that I take, and will give me food to eat and garments to wear, and I return to my father's house in the safety, then the Lord will be my God. This stone, which I have set up as a pillar, will be God's house, and of all that you gave me, I will surely give a tenth to you.
So the point is that Jacob, all right, so Isaac says, hey, you got to go. You need to go find a wife from people, because we don't want you to marry the foreign women that Esau's messing around with. We want you to go back, and so Jacob's on his way, and after receiving the blessing of Isaac, then God encounters him and blesses him, and then that's whenever he meets Rachel, and then all of that stuff happens. Okay. So going back to, and I don't want to hurt nobody's eyes. So going back to 31, right? You're right. See, return to the land of your fathers, relatives, and I will be with you. And right here, Genesis 32:9, it's repeated there. And we'll see that in a minute. So the point is, Janet, as you said, by reading it again, reading the connection, you were saying, it seems like I read this before. Yeah, because it's all part of the patriarchal narrative. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And remember that Genesis is one book, so you'll see repeated themes and repeated ideas throughout. So you're making the right connection like that. Okay. So keep going.
So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field and said to them, I see your father's attitude, that it is not friendly towards me as formerly, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to hurt me. But he did the same. He cheated Laban also.
Okay, did he trick Laban before or after? Who tricked who first?
Laban.
Okay. Now, did Jacob trick anybody before he encountered Laban?
No, but that's a revenge.
There was somebody he tricked.
Huh?
There was somebody that he tricked. Look.
Leah?
No.
Rachel?
But start reading.
7. Now it come about when Isaac was old and his eyes were. Oh yeah, and come about Isaac was old and his eyes were too dim to see, and he called. Oh yeah, I know. Jacob is the one who his Esau, his brother.
Yeah, and this also goes back. This also goes back to. Oh my goodness! Why did it go way up there?
We're going on to ago.
All right. All right, start right here, 21.
Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because, this is Isaac now. We are not on Jacob.
Right.
So, prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren, and the Lord answered him, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. But the children struggled together with her, and she said, if it is so, why then am I this way? So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people will be separated from your body, and 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger.
Okay.
When her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Now the first came forth red all over like a hairy garment, and they named him Esau. Afterward, his brother came forth with his hand holding on Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she gave birth to them.
So this is heel catcher or supplanter. In other words, basically it's like the idea of the manipulator, the fighter, the contender, those type of ideas.
So no, it's good naming Jacob because you become the deceit.
Well, this is kind of the prophecy. Now remember, Jacob steals Esau's birthright. Yeah. Remember that? The beans?
Yeah.
So going back, so you basically have where, yes, Laban has deceived Jacob, right? But before Jacob met Laban, Jacob was involved in deception as well, and Rebecca was a manipulator as well. Okay.
Yeah. So Rachel is also a manipulator with Jacob, with the children.
Well, you have that idea as well. Are the men going to imitate the sins of the other men, and are the women going to imitate the sins of the other women?
How about you guys? What do you think? Is that a rhetorical question or a question that need to answer?
No, that's a Batman question when you're reading the narrative. You know what the expectation is when you get to new characters that are introduced. What is the expectation? Are they going to follow the good example of Abraham or the bad example of Abraham? Are they going to follow the good example of Sarah or the bad example of Sarah?
So your question was rhetorical.
Right. It's something to think about when you're reading.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So, then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers. Guys, we are continuing in Genesis 31 now.
Yes.
So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field and said to them, I see your father's attitude, that it is not friendly towards me as formerly, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength, Yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to hurt me. If he spoke thus, the speckled shall be your wages. Then all the flock brought forth speckled. And if he spoke thus, the stripe shall be your wages. Then all the flock brought forth stripe. Thus, God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me.
Jenny, can you shut the
And
door? The music or sound is coming through.
No, there's some. No, it's
Okay.
not the outdoor.
All right. Well, next
Inside.
time we make a video, we will have to pick a place where there isn't so much sound. But it's all right. Keep going.
And it came about at a time when the flock were mating that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream. And behold, the male goats which were mating were striped, speckled, and molted.
Yeah. So this is a flashback. He's telling his wife about information that is not included in Genesis 30. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So he's
So
telling them
it's a
he
lot.
had a dream. So before he did what he did with the animals, he had a dream.
Okay.
All right. You're on verse
Okay.
11 now.
Yeah, I'm going here so that it will not so loud.
It's fine. I think I heard Pastor Chris' voice.
Okay, so then the angels of God said to me in that dream, Jacob, and I said, Here I am. He said, Lift up now your eyes and see that all the male goats which are mating are striped, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all the Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar. Where
See,
you
that goes
made...
back to that story we read earlier.
Yeah. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar, where you made a vow to me. Now arise, leave this land, and return to the land of your birth. Rachel and Leah said to him, Do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not reckoned by him as foreigners? For he has sold us and has also entirely consumed our purchase price. Surely all the wealth which God has taken away from our father belongs to us and our children. Now then, do whatever God has said to you. Then Jacob arose and put his children and his wives upon camels, and he drove away all his livestock and all his property which he had gathered. His acquired livestock which he had gathered in Padan Aram, to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. When Laban had gone to share his flock, then Rachel stole the household idols that were her father's. Why did Rachel do this?
Well, there's two views. And from my pre-understanding, I don't know the commentaries now because we're not in that process, but my pre-understanding is that one, it's supernatural and she's wanting to trust in the other gods. She wants those other gods to bless her, of the idols. The other one is that if you possess the idols, it related to your inheritance. That
Because they're talking about we don't have our father's inheritance, right?
yeah, in a way. Well, think of it like, I think the connection goes like this. You make the idol, right? And then when you make the idol, you supposedly you got power over that God. And as long as you do what that God wants you to do, then he will bless you or she will bless you.
So Rachel didn't really trust the God of Jacob.
That's a possibility. Or she's into syncretism and she's mixing both, which shows Laban was into syncretism because it's his household idols.
Oh yeah, because it's not it is not Rachel who find a husband like the Samaritan woman. No, I'm sorry, wrong quote. Like it's Jacob went to find a wife, right? And then why is that so?
Why is what so?
Why then Laban? Why then who's that? Jacob? Isaac? Why then Isaac wanted Jacob to do his family? It says so that they will not worship in a false god. But why then Laban has a false god, idols, something like that, an idols? If they have an idols, they worship a false god.
Yes, or it may just be a symbol for their inheritance. You would have to study that out. But this is what to think about. Abraham sent a servant to get a bride for Isaac. Okay. When he went there, he went to the area where Laban is. So Isaac's like, wow, I got this good woman, Rebecca, and I'm looking at Esau, and Esau's loving all these foreign women, these other women that don't have any common ground with us. So you know what? I better send him back to where I got my wife. And so that's how Jacob ends up with Laban. But the thing to understand is he's not really sending him so much to Laban. He's rather sending him back to the place of blessing.
Send back to the place of blessing, which is in Canaan.
Yeah, because when Abram found that wife, he felt like the servant felt like God had led her to him, and he did. And so then he's like, okay, I got my wife here. I was blessed here. This is like relates to the Abrahamic covenant. So now I'm sending Jacob because I don't want Jacob around Esau because they're going to kill each other, there's problems there. I mean, we know about the prophecy about two nations
This seems
being
like
in the womb. Huh?
It seems like using Laban so that Jacob can have inheritance. God using Laban just
Yeah,
to
yeah.
pass through Jacob.
That's exactly what's happening. Because
Why is that? I mean, and then so you can understand Laban that because it seems like you come here with nothing because the gift that the servant give to Laban is from Isaac, right? For Jacob.
okay, which let's go back to
And
let's go back.
no, I mean,
You're asking the right questions. You're thinking about this through correctly. Okay, so after he steals the blessing, right? He sends him off. Jacob is sent away. Okay?
Jacob sent away who?
No, Isaac sends Jacob away. Okay?
Isaac sent Jacob away. No, it's Isaac, no, his mother.
No, Isaac sent him away.
Oh, because the cheated one. Because he cheated.
Look, so Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, "You should not take a wife from your daughters of Canaan." And then that's where he said, "Go to where I basically got your mother."
Why is that? Why is not in Canaan?
Canaan is the promised land, Janet.
Yeah, no, I mean,
That's where the Abrahamic covenant. That's the place of blessing.
Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, "You shall not take a wife from the
Oh,
daughters
yeah,
of
yeah.
Canaan."
You're right. Yeah. Even though this is the promised land, you got to remember what God told Abraham, that they won't be able to get to possess the land until 400 years. So even though the land is the promised land, Canaan, they're full of pagans. They're full of people that will be a bad influence on Jacob and stuff. And so God sends him out of the land because it's not the right time. So remember this, God is saying, "I'm going to give you this land, but it's not the right time. I've already given you the land, but
Why God not letting Jacob to marry in Canaanites?
he doesn't look at the previous statement.
Canaan is a promised land.
You got to back up and read this too. Give me a second. I have to back it up.
So
All right, so Isaac is old, right? So this is why they're going to do the blessing and stuff.
Isaac, behold. Okay. Rebecca, while listening, okay.
You don't have to read that. I'm just showing you something. Give me a second. So then he does the prophecy. All right.
Whiskey49 says, "Could you go over the thoughts on taking Laban's idols? I knew it was coming up and was out of the room." Yeah, so the word, if I remember right, is seraphim, and it can refer to syncretism, that they had more than one god, right? Or it can refer to inheritance, that the idol related to the inheritance idea. So that's essentially it.
So he's given the prophecy. And then that's whenever he's hunting, he comes back angry. Look what he says here. Then he said, "Is it not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times." So this is what Esau's saying about Jacob.
Okay.
Takes away my birthright, now taking away my blessing. All
No,
right?
that is not Jacob's fault. It's Esau because he allowed. It's his decision.
Yeah, yes, that's true. But remember the prophecy. The older shall serve the younger. Esau is the older. Jacob is the younger.
Oh, so he need to serve the youngest, right? So, but he refused to serve by feeding him.
No, it's a prophecy. It's not saying what should happen. It's saying what will happen. Now, it's possible that Rebecca was manipulating things because she knew the prophecy, so she treated Jacob differently than Esau. That's a possibility. And she was trying to manipulate, okay? All right, so then he gets the blessing and the conflict and all that. Read this.
Rebecca said to Isaac, "I am."
Yeah, if you pull up Constable's notes, like let's just do that real quick. We'll pull up Constable's notes. You can do it with ChatGPT, but we'll do it with Constable's notes. Just type in Constable's notes, Genesis. There's the PDF. Type in inheritance. If you can spell it right. Okay. Ishmael, Hagar. Keep moving on. Inheritance is a big thing in Hebrew. Here it is right here. I mean, in Genesis. This isn't where I first heard about it. I've known about this stuff for years, but Jacob then assembled all his possessions at Padam Aram for Canaan. He did this secretly. Laban was busy sharing his flock and did not know that Jacob was leaving. Rachel's theft of her father's idols, teraphim, reflected her Hurrian custom of keeping household gods. Nevertheless, the real significance of what she did, and perhaps the reason for the theft, lies in the fact that according to the Nutsi tablets, he who possessed the household gods was the legitimate heir. One of the purposes of these idols was to obtain oracles. It may be that Rachel stole them to prevent Laban from using them to divine Jacob's route of escape. So there's two views there, right? And then eventually Rachel wanted Jacob to remain Laban's heir, even though sons had been born to Laban after Jacob arrived in Haran, presumably. Other writers, however, dispute the significance of the household gods at this time, as was Rachel's motivation. The supposed role of the teraphim or household gods, as those passages, as constituted title deeds and inheritances, seems also to be fallacious. Rachel simply took them for her own protection and blessing. And let's see who says that. Kitchen. All right. These gods were usually small figurines, 2 or 3 inches long, sometimes carried on the body as charms, many of which archaeologists have discovered in Canaan. They may have represented departed ancestors or gods that their markers venerated. Rachel may have also have hoped that these gods would make her a fruitful mother. Apparently, Laban's family worshiped false gods as well as the true God. In Joshua 24, 1-3, that's where it talks about they passed over. It is curious that Rachel and not Leah should have almost always turned out to be Jacob's greatest hindrance in life. So yeah, that's that. You can find out more stuff about the teraphim, linguistic origins of teraphim. A couple other footnotes you can look at: nature, biblical teraphim, those issues like that. Yeah, so Constable's Notes is a good resource for that, and it's free and it's updated every year. All right, so let's go back to this. Share screen.
Tired of living because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like this, from the daughters of the land, what good will my life to be? Okay, fine.
Because Esau is marrying all these foreign wives. So then Isaac calls Jacob. So Rebecca's frustrated, and so Isaac does something. Okay. All right. So now we can. What?
No, I was trying to read, but
you don't need to read it because we already got that part going on.
Okay.
All right. So so you bring up a good point. When you read the Bible, it's important to know the story and how everything connects. It's just like when you're watching that series and you're watching Arrow, Janet, or Flash. If you started in the middle of a season, if you started with season 3, episode 10 or something, you're like, what happened here? And you're just like, oh, I gotta backtrack. I gotta go back.
Yeah, that's why earlier it seems like I'm watching the episode that's already.
Yeah, no problem, Whiskey 49.
That's already done, and then I review, but I didn't notice that I am reviewing.
Well, because there's flashbacks.
Because I watch.
There's flashbacks in the story right here.
Yeah, because okay.
All right, so we got the Rachel stealing the idols. Okay, verse 20.
And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean. Laban the Aramean? Oh yeah, by not telling him that he was fleeing. So he fled with all that he had, and he arose and crossed the
Euphrates
River. I hope no one sees that. Oh my goodness. And sees his face towards the hill country. I hope guys you didn't see what I saw. But just I know my husband didn't see it also, but don't review the video. You may see it. What happened? But anyway.
Well, if you mention it now, everybody's going to view it. So now everybody's going to go back and you'll see this.
Let's go see what Janet did. Was she picking her nose? What was she doing?
I'm watching the episode that's already done, and I review, but I didn't notice that I am reviewing.
Well, because there's flashbacks.
Because I watch.
There's flashbacks in the story right here.
Yeah, because okay.
All right, so we got the Rachel stealing the idols. Okay, verse 20.
And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean. Laban the Aramean? Oh yeah, by not telling him that he was fleeing. So he fled with all that he had, and he arose and crossed the
Euphrates.
Euphrates River. I hope no one sees that. Oh my goodness. And sees his face towards the hill country of Milan. I hope guys you didn't see what I saw. What just goodness.
I don't know what she saw, what she's talking about. I was looking right at her. I didn't see anything going on. I guess something was happening in the background.
Yeah, my husband didn't see it also, but don't review the video. You may see it. What happened? But anyway.
Well, if you mention it now, everybody's going to view it. So now everybody's going to go back and you'll see the statistics. Like everybody's going to be stopping and watching it.
I just hoping that they didn't see it. Oh my goodness.
Well, if you keep talking about it, they're going to go back and rewatch it. I'm curious too, but let's continue.
Let's continue. When it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled, then he took his kinsmen with him and pursued him a distance of 7 days' journey. And he overlooked him in the hill country of Gilead. Overtook him. Go. Came to Laban the Aramean in a dream. A God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream of the night and said to him, "Be careful that you do not speak to Jacob, either good or bad." Laban caught up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tents in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsmen camped in the hill country of Gilead. Then Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done by deceiving me and carrying away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me, and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with joy and with song, with timbrel and with lyre, and did not allow me to kiss my sons and daughters? How you have done foolishly! Now you have done foolishly. It is in my power to do you harm, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, 'Be careful not to speak either good or bad to Jacob.' Now you have indeed gone away because you
Hi, Captain Nemo. Are you a Christian, Captain Nemo?
long greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods?" Then Jacob replied to Laban, "Because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. The one with whom you find your God shall not live. In the presence of our kinsmen, point out what is yours among my belongings and take it for yourself." For Jacob did not know what Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent and into the tent of the two maids, but he did not find them. Then he went of Leah's tent and entered their tent. Now Leah had Rachel. What I'm Leah? Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered in Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and put them in camel's saddle, and she sat on them. And Laban fell through. You know, this scene is very complicated. It seems like present scene, but actually it's past scenes.
Yes, this is a background. This is a flashback. Very good.
I mean the background.
Yes.
Why
very
is that?
good. That's what the narrative does. I will show you in the Hebrew at another time why it's doing that.
She
But
said
it's
to
good
her,
you caught that. That's actually one of the steps that we'll do in the future.
she said to her father, "Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for the manner of a woman is upon me." So he searched out but did not find the household idols. Then Jacob became angry and contended with Laban, and Jacob said to Laban, "What is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Though you have fell through all my goods, what have you found of all your household gods? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that they may decide between us two. These 20 years I have been with you." So Laban now protect what have done Rachel, trying to rescue what Rachel have done by saying all that Jacob had done to Laban. Anyway,
I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. These 3 years I have been with you. Here I am again. Eos. Ooh, what?
Use
Your
or use.
your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flocks. That which was torn of beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it myself. You required it of my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was by day the heat consumed me. So it seems like Jacob makes stirring up the conscience of Laban. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That he may not go to Rachel what she has done.
He doesn't. Laban doesn't know Rachel has the idols, Janet.
Yeah, but Jacob knows it.
No, he doesn't. Jacob doesn't know it either.
Oh, why is it earlier? It says that Rachel had said that. Yeah, rewind.
Now I'll rewind, but it's not
Sorry,
there.
guys, it's not there. So Rachel, I don't know if I let when Laban goes to tent of Rachel, where is it? Oh, scroll up again. Scroll up one more, a little bit. Okay. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and put them in the camel's saddle, and she sat on them. And Laban felt.
Captain Nemo says, I saw your channel from your interaction with William. How do you feel when he's constantly insulting you, bro? I'd be so peed off, not gonna lie. I respect your composure. Well, the thing is that he asks every time I appear on that show, it's because he's invited me as a guest, you know, and there is a hazing aspect of things. Let me tell you what William Albeck reminds me of. There was this Jewish guy, okay? A Jewish guy that had his guard up, and I think it was in college or something. We were in close proximity, like sharing the same table or, you know, things like that. And that just happened on a regular thing. And I just stayed consistent and, you know, talked to him. And I started realizing that his, I guess his aggressiveness or his, and this has happened in other types of people in my life, but this one particular has always stuck with me. I just realized that it was more like a defense mechanism, and it's like a test. It's a way to filter through people that, I guess you could say, are not about that life, you know? So I guess that is, in a way, that's kind of how I see William, you know? So yeah, there's that aspect of it. But yeah, there's a hazing aspect, and there's another sense where, you know, he's inviting me there for a reason. And each time he invites me, we're gonna cover more ground. Now, people don't always catch that, but that's why I make my shorts and my videos and all of that stuff. I still have more to upload, but yeah. I can keep my composure sometimes. Not all the time. It depends on the person, the situation. But I got to get better at that and not just adapt, but de-escalate, I guess is the way to say it.
Through all the tent, but did not find them. She said to her father, who's she? She is Rachel. Let not my Lord be angry that I cannot rise before you. Oh, because he's sitting down the idols. For the manner of women is upon me. So he searched but did not find the household idols. Okay, got you. Fine. He set down the idols.
And that's why Jacob is so mad. He's thinking that Laban is lying. That Laban is just trying to come as a way to try to stop him from leaving.
Okay. Got you. I'm sorry, guys. Just want to have clarification.
No, it's fine.
No, don't be bored. Let's continue reading. Don't get mad at me. Let's do digging. These 20 years I have been in your house. I serve you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been for me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the toil of my hands, so he rendered judgment last night. Then Laban replied to Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, and the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day to these my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? So now come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me. Then Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. Then Jacob said to his kinsmen, gather a stone. Okay, that's Jacob. Here I am again in this place. Jacob said to his kinsmen, gather stone. So they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Now Laban called it Jigar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Galid. Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore, it was named Galid. I have already commented, right? And Mizpah, for he said, May the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent one from the other. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take wives beside my daughters, although no man is with us, see, God is witness, no man is with us. See, God is witness between you and me. Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold the pillar which I have set between you and me. This heap is a witness.
Captain Nemo said, I see a common tactic of his is constant gaslighting prior to arguments like, you're going to get butchered in the Greek, just watch. Does it ever fluster you mentally? Well, I know Greek very well, and I've at least those issues very well, and I've dealt with those things. And essentially what happened is he slipped up, he messed up, he conflated verbal aspect and action art and other things like that. For knowing Daniel Wallace, he should have a more nuanced view of things. This is the reality. But yeah, he slipped up.
And the pillar is a witness that I will not pass by his heap to you for harm, and you will not pass by this heap and this pillar for me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judged between us. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his kinsmen to the meal. And they ate the meal and spent the nights on the mountain. Early in the morning, Laban arose and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place.
Now here's 32. Remember, the goal of this video was to see how you understand 31 through reading 30 and 32. So read 32.
I really don't get what we are doing this time. Now, as Jacob went on his way, the angels of God met him. Jacob said when he saw them.
Okay, now let me pause real quick. Since you have not read this, at least this time, how does what you're reading now remind you of what you've already read?
What did you say?
How does what you're reading now remind you of what you've already read?
Now, as Jacob went his way, the angels. It's remind me that Jacob already done his business with Laban and everything.
Yeah, but when has Jacob ever encountered angels before?
No.
Yes, he has.
In 30 and 31?
No, way early, like 28 or something. Jacob's ladder. Remember we read that story about Bethel? Okay, keep reading. I'm just telling you that. You'll see it later, but keep reading.
Now, as Jacob went on his way, you mean the stone? That's his dream. God told him in a dream. She saw a dream.
Okay, so you bring up a good point. So the question is, has Jacob ever seen an angel while he was not dreaming? Let's try. Then the angel of God said to me, okay, that's the dream. I know that's the dream, but hold on, there's more. He had a dream, and behold a ladder, right? There's an angel. Okay.
See, he said to me, the Lord before whom I have sent his angel.
Wait, we got to see who's talking. This is talking about Isaac. Okay. So your argument is correct. Well, if based on these initial observations, all the other times that Jacob saw angels was in a dream. But here,
it's always in a dream. But here it's not a dream.
Yes, good observation, Asalako. All right,
so
keep reading. Yeah,
always a dream.
It's similar but not the same. Yes.
That's a good. That's a good. Anyway. Now, as Jacob went on his way, the angel of God met him. Jacob said the angels of God met him. Jacob said when he saw them, this is God's camp. So he named the place Mahanaim. Oh, so since he saw the angels of that place, so he called it Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom.
So what's this remind you of?
Then Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir. Yeah. I remind.
In 31, Esau's not mentioned, right?
What about?
In 31, Esau is not mentioned.
Yeah, Esau is not mentioned.
But the last time Esau was mentioned is in 28. Right before Jacob had the dream.
Mm-hmm.
And put the stones and the ladder and all of that.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is reminding you of the bigger story. Uh-oh. 32, sorry. This is reminding you of the stuff that's already happened, the conflict with Jacob, Esau, all of that stuff, the prophecy, everything connected.
Yeah, this one is it reminds me that Esau wanted to kill Jacob, and then it's very thrilled now because it's a suspense in the movie because Esau is like that.
Okay,
And then Jacob want to see him. That's why Jacob sent sent a messenger to know if Esau is very mad. So Jacob is afraid to meet Esau because the Bible, the narrative says that that Esau is very mad at Jacob. And why then God, verse 1, scroll up please. And then why on verse 32, on chapter 32, first verse, why then the scripture said, now as Jacob went on his way, the angel of God met him. Jacob said when he saw them, this is God's camp. So he named the place Manhattan. Then Jacob sent messenger before him, his brother Esau. Why then? What the angel of God told him during the time? There's a time between. Why then?
Well, it doesn't say he told him anything. It just said he met him.
Yeah, met him. So just muted. Well, met him, but he said this place I named Mahanaim.
We don't know if they've talked. All we know is it's basically like they're like security guards, possibly.
So why then Jacob? So maybe the angels of God is like a sign that there's a danger or
there's that aspect of it as well. But there's also the aspect that it's reassurance. God is trying to strengthen his faith.
So when Jacob saw the angels of God, he think about Esau.
No,
it comes to his mind.
Well, the connection you got to
my place.
You got to remember, yes, yeah, in a way, yes, because we saw from the narrative, it was whenever he left Esau 20 years ago that he encountered God and had the dream about the angels and all that. So yes, it's a reminder of when he left. It's like God is bringing the angels there to reassure him, but also to remind him and to help the reader pick up on the idea of the connection between the stories. So if you think of it like this, and this is not a perfect example, but you know how when you watch Arrow or Flash, you're following one character, his story, right? But we're following the story of Jacob, okay? We're following the story of Jacob, right? He's the superhero, so to speak. But inside that story of Jacob, you had the story of Rachel and the idols and the conflict with Laban and all of that. But just like all the superheroes are connected to each other, the story of Jacob connects to Isaac and then the previous issues there and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's exactly what's going on. So when we read Genesis 31, that's one episode, okay? That's one episode. And 30 would be an episode. And 32 would be an episode probably. And whenever you would do this in order, you would map all this out. But we're having to jump in at this passage because I'm going to be writing a paper on this passage and I plan on preaching this possibly in September. But anyway. But there's a reason why I wanted, because before my church got, the people in my church got COVID, I was originally going to preach on Genesis 31. And so, and I wanted to preach on that for a particular reason. And I'm like, well, I have more time. I might as well write my paper. I might as well, dive in this deeper. And then I'm taking Old Testament survey, which deals with narrative. And so I'm trying to kill a bunch of birds with one stone. So that's what we're doing here. Okay. 32:3. Go ahead.
Before him to his brother Esau. And then see, how did Jacob know that Esau is on his way?
Keep reading. Keep reading.
His brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He also commanded them, saying, "Thus you shall say to my lord to my lord Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now."
Okay, look. It doesn't say Esau knew that Jacob was coming. Instead, Jacob sends messengers first. Now, it's possible Esau had spies watching the land and all of that, but from what we're reading in the narrative, Jacob makes the first move, or reconciliation. Okay, if you want to look at it as like that. All right, so go to 4.
He also commanded them, saying, "Thus you shall say to my lord Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now." Oh my goodness, it's already 6. I'm sorry, guys.
We're almost done.
I have oxen and donkeys and flocks and male and female servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find favor in your sight. The messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and furthermore, he is coming to meet you." Oh, okay. He's not Jacob. Okay, maybe Jacob is going back home, and he remembered the anger from Esau before he left from Canaan, and then now he's going back to Canaan, and therefore he said to send messenger before him so that he will know if his brother is mad or whatever, and then so he just want to know if his brother is mad at him or he will gonna be killed. So, but anyway, the messenger returned to Jacob saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and furthermore, he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." My goodness. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people who were with him and the flock. See, assumption is not good, right? Assumption is not good. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people who were with him and the flocks and the herds and the camels into two companies. And he said, "If Esau come to the one company and attacks it, then the company which is left will escape." Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, 'Return to your country and to your relatives, and I will prosper you.' I am unworthy of all the loving kindness and of all the faithfulness which you have shown to your servant. For with my staff only I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become two companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him that he will come and attack me and the mothers with the children. For you said, I will surely prosper you and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which is too great to be numbered." My goodness, it seems like he already cornered. He don't know where to go to, and then end up like, "Lord," praying, end up with prayer. So he spent the night there. Then he selected from what he had with him a present for his brother Esau: 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 here I am again ewes and 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 famous donkeys and 10 male donkeys.
In a pear tree.
He delivered them into the hands of his servant, every drove by itself, and said to his servant, "Pass on before me and put space between droves." He commanded the one in front, saying, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks you, saying, 'To whom do you belong, and where are you going? To whom do these animals in front of you belong?' Then you shall say, 'This belongs to your servant Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord Esau, and behold, he is also behind us.' Then he commanded also the second and the third, and all those who followed he drove, saying, 'After this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him, and you shall say, Behold, your servant Jacob also is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me. Then afterward I will see his face, perhaps he will accept me.' So the present passed on before him, while he himself spent that night in the camp. Now he arose that same night and took his 2 wives and his 2 maids and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream, and he sent across whatever he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. Whose man? Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. So before he met Esau, that's the way he met Jesus.
If you want to put it that way, yeah, the pre-incarnate Christ. If you believe that this is the pre-incarnate Christ.
That's why, is this the time that Jesus take out his limp?
Yes.
I mean,
yes. Don't say Jesus, because he technically wasn't Jesus until he was born, because it said his name should be Jesus, for he was saved.
What? How did I say the pre-existence?
Pre-incarnate Christ. So
Pre-incarnate.
Christ appearing as a Christophany before his incarnation.
So no need to say Jesus, because Jesus is born on is Jesus in the Bethlehem.
Yeah, I mean it's fine, but it may confuse people, because if you tell people,
hi guys, don't be confused.
yeah,
don't be confused.
It's all right. No, it's fine.
Pre-existence.
Pre-incarnate.
Pre-incarnate. I'm sorry, guys. I am very bad memory.
It's all right.
So pre-incarnate Christ, not pre-incarnate Jesus, because Jesus is in Jerusalem. Anyway.
And Jesus, his name will be called Jesus in the future. Yes.
In the future, yeah, the Christ, yeah, okay, the Christ.
Even though it's always true that his attribute is he's Yahweh, so it's the Lord of salvation or the Lord saves. That's true from the very beginning. We know that, but in the storyline, he's not called Jesus until his birth. He takes on flesh.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah. Christ not become Jesus until his birth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Continue.
When he saw that he had not prevailed against him, he touched the socket of his thigh. Of Jacob's thigh was dislocated while he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the dawn is breaking." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me," because he is afraid of Esau, So he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, and he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel." So you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed.
Now, this phrase showed up before. Do you remember where? The word
Let's
wrestle
look at-
also.
Let's look at-
Look.
Oh.
Read it.
So Rizzo said, with mighty wrestling, I have wrestled with my sister. No, that's Rizzo.
I know,
Not
but it's the same words. And Jacob is Rachel's wife, and they're in this wrestling together.
So Jacob took the words from Rizzo?
No, God took the words.
Sorry.
But it goes all the way back to Jacob's name. Jacob is a wrestler. He's a heel catcher. So you imagine the wrestling, right? And you're fighting, and the person grabs the heel. Like a lot of times when you watch a movie where two bad guys are fighting, or one bad guy and a good guy, the one thinks the other guy's dead, and then he walks away, and the guy grabs his heel and pulls him. You know, it's almost sort of like that, except it's doing from the womb. You know, and so Jacob is a wrestler. He's a supplanter. He's a heel catcher, and so you have that imagery going on. So if you would think about it, God, this is kind of funny. God picked two wrestlers to marry each other. You know, they're both fighters or something. I don't know. Just an observation. I know there's similarities between you and I. We wrestle. We wrestle with the text together. You know, but anyway.
So.
All right.
Okay.
Almost done. You're almost done. Keep reading.
Okay. Then Jacob asked him and said, please tell me your name. But he said, why is it that you ask my name? Then he blessed him there. So Jacob named the place. So meaning, he didn't know the name of the Lord. Who resolved him.
Right. He didn't know the exact name. He didn't say, oh, hi, my name's Jesus. You know.
Okay, fine. So
Jacob, he didn't say my name is Yahweh. He didn't say that.
Okay. For he said, I have seen God face to face. How did he know that he sees God? Yet my life has been preserved.
We'll talk about this in future, what Elohim means and how it could be used. But for now, we're just going to use it and make the assumption that this is talking about the pre-incarnate Christ and that he actually wrestled with God. But there are other options that we can talk about later on. But that's deeper in the study. Okay. 31.
Now the sun rose upon him. The sun rose upon him just as he crossed over Penuel, and he was limping on his thigh. Therefore, this day the sons of Israel do not eat the sinew of the hip which is on the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of Jacob's thigh. That's I'm sorry, but that's I don't know. I want to say, but
you're thinking it's superstition.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, regardless of that,
I may say they are charismatic. Oh, can I say that?
Anyway, okay, let me show you this. Making a chart like this could help. All right, where you write your observations. You read one first, right? You write your observations here for each one of them. Then you divide it up. Okay, there's a concern mentioned here.
Yeah, can I make like
I'll tell you what. Go home, and we'll make a part 2 video, and we'll talk about this if you want.
Okay.
Or if not, we'll get it next time. But from this, I was able to make these summaries right here, these short summaries.
I will practice the charting. I'll be more on focusing on that. So
well,
that I can.
This is not charting salvation, but it's.
No, I'm not saying that. I said if you said if I want to study with you, but when I got home. But if I'm got home, if we cannot study, I want to practice the charting.
Well, we could do both because we could just make a short video explaining this chart.
Okay.
And then me and you can do a private study on what you want to study. All right.
Sure.
All right. So Asawako, tell the audience what they can do.
Hello, guys. I'm sorry if I was so I don't know what you can. But I really hope that you didn't see what happened earlier. So
now you're mentioning it again.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to us. And I hope, even though sometimes we feel bored or yawny or sleepy while listening, but please just take the things that it's helpful for you learning God's word. So thank you so much for watching us until this time, and hope to see you again next. And please, if you blessed by this video, subscribe. Charlie, I'm doing this. Please,
Good job.
I hope you know what you're doing when you post this. Subscribe and share this video to others. Bye.
Okay, I want to see if I still have that chart. I probably do. Let me see. Genesis 31. Give me a second. I'm looking in my Google Drive. Genesis 31. It's not showing up there. Let me do Genesis. Limited to documents. Okay. Lots of stuff on 15. Let's see. Paragraph synthesis. Interpretive questions. All right, so let me go look and see if it's in my Word document saved somewhere. In a cloud somewhere. Couldn't find what I'm looking at there. Let me go check my computer. That may just be a chart that I lost. Oh, I think I found it. It had difficulty opening the file, but I saw the name of it. Genesis 31 narrative. Why aren't she coming up? Let me take out 31. Just narrative. Okay. We'll just do narrative. So this goes back to 2021. Yeah, I guess that chart only exists in that video. Huh. Interesting. Oh well. Well, I know what we can do. We can make ChatGPT do it. I don't know if it will pick up on the same way I did it, but let's just do it. Create a 3-column chart for the analysis of Genesis 30 through 32, where each chapter is a column. Identify elements of each chapter in a 4th column to the left of the column for Genesis 30. Note similarities and differences. So when I did this by hand years ago, of course, AI wasn't available to the public. So I did it by scratch. Let's see how AI does here. This is insane. Goodness gracious. It don't look exactly like mine, but instantaneously. What took me hours? Primary setting, all the way across. Main narrative focus, all the way across. Primary conflict, all the way across. Key characters that are active. Divine activity, covenant motif, key events, human strategy, agency, fear, threat motif, dreams, supernatural communication across, symbolic objects, naming, identity, themes, movement pattern, covenant, boundary marker, narrative tone. Key similarities across the chapters, So you could read it if you want. Yeah, that's insane. You can do it almost instantaneously. And look, it said produce a reconciled literary analysis layer on a chiastic structure. You could go so deep with this, but yeah. I got to go to a doctor's appointment in the morning, so I'm going to go ahead and roll. Y'all have a good night. Check out more content, old stuff, new stuff. It's all good. God bless, guys.